Welcome Beyond the Pixel. I'm Harli, artist, entrepreneur, and video game enthusiast.
I'm Luis, co-founder of Beyond the Pixel, and a technical game designer that's been surviving the game industry for the past 10 years.
And today we're going to be looking at the Game Awards 2023 nominees and giving our predictions on who is going to win and who we think should actually win.
Alright, let's look into this. Where do we want to start?
So for this particular video, because we do not participate in a lot of esports events and aren't aware of particular content creators, we will actually be starting with the most anticipated game.
Alright, let's take a look here. Most anticipated game. Recognizing an announced game that has demonstrably illustrated potential to push the gaming medium forward. The nominees they have chosen are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. I think that this is going to be an interesting fight. And the thing to consider about these nominees is, and the way the panel works, is that it's 90% juried by influencers and people in journalistic outlets. So I would say like the IGNs, GameSpots of the world. And 10% is audience. So there's like a good mix there of like voices there. So I don't know. Any first thoughts, Harli?
I mean, definitely out of the gates, I already see my two favorites to win, which is my completely biased review. All of my reviews will be completely biased, by the way. Definitely the two out of the gate. To those that know me, no surprise, I do think that the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the second installment of the remake series for this extremely beloved title in one of the largest franchises in gaming, might just be the one to beat. I'm not saying it will for sure win, but I think it's going to be a tough fight. The underdog for me, which most likely would not win, but has been, as you said, a new beloved series of mine that I've discovered, is the Like a Dragon franchise. The trailer for Infinite Wealth looks just hilarious. It's exactly what I would expect and want, especially for Ichiban Kasuga, main character. I specifically started in 7, so he was my main character, my first introduction into this game. I'm very, very excited for the next game. Deeply, deeply biased. Those are definitely my top two.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I'm just really interested in where they're going to take the story. And beautiful, well-designed game. It's a miracle that they pulled off like remake as well as it did, and how differently they did it. So there's a lot of stuff there that I want to see going forward. And just this framing of this artwork here is just freaking beautiful. You can't help but get excited for it. The other one that I feel is going to give a stiff competition, though, is Hades 2, which is a former Game of the Year winner. The first game, at least, was a winner at the Game Awards for Best Game. Again, extremely beautiful art, extremely tight gameplay, just absolutely a tremendous tour de force. And a sequel to that, I think, is probably going to be on a lot of people's radar.
Agreed.
To talk about some of the other ones, Star Wars Outlaws, I don't think this one has a chance of winning. Personally, as interested as I am in seeing them pull off, this is the Ubisoft open world Star Wars game. It has some really interesting things in the trailers that I've seen, being able to explore those worlds, having like a more open-ended approach to the narrative, and visually looking stunning, of course. I think there's a lot to be excited for there. But it's also, Star Wars games are hit or miss. They're either really good and really amazing, and other times they leave a lot of people wanting. I think everyone approaches this game with trepidation. Of course, then we also have Tekken 8, which I've been recently made the determination that I really want to get into Tekken. I've been click-clacketing away on my fight stick, which I'm sure has bemused Harli to no end. But I think fighting games are interesting, When you have like a thing that's juried, when it's based on the audience, there's usually someone at an outlet that's the fighting game person. Or if you're an influencer, you just cover fighting games and that's it. It's so specific because there's so much of a technical level of like playing that you have to like achieve to, really be able to talk about the game and experience it. And even as Tekken has been pushing story for like the forefront and making the game more accessible, I think a lot of people are going to jump onto Tekken with Tekken 8, but I don't know if it has the same like mass appeal that someone is going to have for like Final Fantasy 7, which has just been a very approachable single player cinematic experience for like pretty much the entire history that I've been playing games. So I think my vote would go definitely with Final Fantasy 7 or Hades 2 taking it. I think Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth edges it out. How about you, Harley?
Yeah, like I said, I think it's definitely going to be close. 7, it's one of those things where it's just in so many people's hearts. Whether you like it or not, you just can't argue with the numbers that are there. And again, Hades being what it was, and especially being like a previous winner as well, I think those two are going to put up the big fights. Again, really love Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Very, very excited to be playing that one on the list for sure. I'm not personally a huge Star Wars aficionado. I definitely enjoy the movies as best as one can. And certainly haven't played any of the video games, so I don't feel like my voice is the most powerful here. What I can say is that when it does come to those really big, beautiful, open world kind of games, what fails for me is that it tends to be a lot of focus on just the looks and just the ability to run around and possibly interact in ways that you didn't think maybe you could. But the problem for me is that I am a specific kind of gamer and that I am here for these amazing characters and these incredible plot lines, and the more open and wide a world is, the less of that I feel I really get to experience, or I just experience all of that all at once, and I don't really just want to aimlessly run around in these worlds.
Understandable. Yeah, I agree with you there for sure. All right. What is your personal... What are you most... Even doesn't have to be on this list. What are you most anticipated game for 2023?
Oh gosh, you make it sound like I pay attention to what's coming out in 2023. I have no concept of time. If nothing else, I will say this.
2024, I mean. 2023 already happened.
Yeah, 2023. Most anticipated for 2024. Like I said, I have no idea what's coming out. I am not paying attention. That's what I have you for. What I can say is that in general, where I personally am currently at with games that I'm very intrigued by, I think I'm most looking forward to in 2024 the next really charming indie game. We're talking your Cult of the Lamb style games, some of those Hollow Knight things. I'd swear, just give him the money to finish Deltarune. I want these Undertale games. That's what I'm most excited to see coming out in 2024.
You're looking for like the big sneak hit that no one saw coming. That's what you're most excited for. With that
very charming look to it, like the art that everyone does. Specifically, anything that involves actual hands-on artists, actual creative humans driving the force. That is what I am most excited for in 2024.
Absolutely. That's a good call. I too would be very excited for that. I think that's it then. Let's look on for our next category.
Next category is Best Adaptation.
Recognizing outstanding creative work that faithfully and authentically adapts a video game into another entertainment medium. And our nominees are Castlevania Nocturne, Gran Turismo, Last of Us, the Super Mario Brothers movie, Twisted Metal. We're at a deficit here because I have seen only 3 of these things.
And I have seen 2.
Yeah. I will say, I really wanted to watch Castlevania Nocturne. I don't have Netflix right now. There's no legal way for me to watch this right now, and that's been a huge bummer because ever since Netflix cut, being able to share your accounts, I have never jumped back on. But if there was ever a time that I really wanted to, it would be for Castlevania Nocturne because I absolutely loved the adaptation that they did for the previous 4 seasons of Castlevania. And this one here follows Richter Belmont and... oh, I forgot her name. She has the birds and she's in Symphony of the Night. But this is like the one that people like Symphony of the Night with Richter Belmont and all that. That's the one that a lot of people gravitated to. That they're more familiar with this Belmont versus Trevor, I'd say, unless you played all the NES games. But I hear it's been really amazing. I really want to check it out. The Gran Turismo movie, I'm surprised that it's on here because the press around it hasn't been great. I would still check it out. The interesting part about this is that it does tell the story of someone who was part of the Gran Turismo Academy, which is a sort of a racing league inside Gran Turismo, where the winners actually go on to race real cars. And it's about this one person's journey in like doing that, and it's based on a real story, but it's very dramatized, I hear, and not 100% faithful to real events. Haven't checked it out. Cool story. Would probably check it out. Last of Us, though. You've seen this one, Harley.
I have seen this one. Basically, honestly, of the two that I have seen, I kind of feel like those are going to be the ones that are up there in the nominations. But I did see The Last of Us. The Last of Us is also a video game franchise that I personally have not played, but it is one that I actually have really enjoyed watching Let's Players play. So I have seen all of the gameplay for both of the games that have come out. I really do love these characters, and I really, really enjoy the story. This is one of those cases where you're going to run into those people that they want things to be as faithful as possible, and when it's not, it can be really upsetting, and you run into the other side where people who are interested in seeing some kind of total retelling, they don't care how you mess it up so long as you create something that's interesting. For me, I really love that The Last of Us did stay extremely faithful. Some of the minor changes that were made don't detract from the overall grand story that they were telling. Some of it, for example, it was decided for the show itself that it's the spores. So the breathing the spores thing, I don't know how it'll play out in the next one. I know that they just didn't want their actors in masks.
Yeah.
Because they found that covering the face in mask makes it harder to see the emotion. So I know that was one change. I do consider that a minor change. It does make one part of the game no longer matter, which is when Ellie is escaping and she shoves that lady down into where all the spores are, and then the lady's like, well, you're gonna die too, and she's like, no, I'm not, because it's Ellie.
Right.
So she's like, that whole thing is no longer gonna matter so much, but I think that's fine, considering you can't cram every single little detail in there. But overall, I was very, very impressed with The Last of Us. I really love the acting. I thought it was amazing. I like that the original voice actress for Ellie has the role of Ellie's mom. That was really cool. And who doesn't love this man right now? Seriously.
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, Pedro Pascal is just a treasure. He did a fantastic job. Really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I love everything about the production, about the Last of Us TV show. The main gripe I had with it is that I already knew everything that was going to happen, and nothing really surprised me.
Which can be the problem for people like you who are open-minded to having those changes.
Yeah. There was so much of it that felt like I was just going... And here's the problem with it, is that I played Last of Us on PS3 twice. Then I played it on PS4 all the way through. And then they made the remake for PS5. I played through that again. And then I watched this show, which is the same story again. It feels like I'm watching this story of gruff man with inspirational child over and over. And like in other media too. Like this is a common like...
In fairness,
like
nobody told you to replay it that many times.
No,
especially with your giant backlog of games.
They keep making it. I like the game. I keep wanting to see it more. It diminishes the impact for me, for sure. For me personally. But I can look at it as a piece of media that's been created with like really great actors, really great lighting, really great work, really great use of like the TV format to like tell stories. I think it's really effective in that sort of way, and I think it is a very, very amazing achievement. Speaking about achievements, in marketing for sure, at least the Super Mario Brothers movie, which everyone and their mother and their dog saw twice, based on the numbers of this movie and how well it did. How did you feel about it, Harley?
I mean, it's fine.
It is the most fine movie.
Yeah, so I want to be very clear. Mario as a franchise is extremely charming. They have very, very recognizable things. You know what you're seeing. I loved all the little stuff in the background. Seeing the Easter eggs was fantastic. Overall, the story is perfectly fine. Everything ran for... The characters were perfectly fine. I'm mainly there for Bowser, and I did have my hesitations with Jack Black in the role. I know apparently that's startling to some people. I think it's mostly because I was very, very worried about Bowser just being turned into this musical man, because I know Jack Black is definitely heavily known for his music, which is all perfectly fine, but I'm here for cool, awesome Bowser, not musical man Bowser. I want to be clear, totally fine with the Peaches song. I thought it was really cute with the piano. I like that they kept it limited. I thought they had a really excellent balance of allowing Jack Black to be himself, and I do appreciate that Jack Black took the extra mile to not just sound like Jack Black. Did not care for the voice acting of almost every other character, save for Toad. Toad also sounded really fantastic. Peach was fine. Insert generic lady voice. That sounds nice. Mario was, again, it was fine. I was most disappointed with Luigi. I know a lot of people enjoyed that actor.
With Charlie Day, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't sound like Luigi. So, and what I can say, especially because personally, I think it's going to be between The Last of Us and the Super Mario Brothers movie. I thought those are the front runners. I think one thing The Last of Us has going for it is that it is a TV series, so it's long-standing. You got to see a lot of content and really connect. And the Super Mario Brothers movie, while charming and frankly has the power of Nintendo and Mario behind it, it was still just like one movie. You didn't get as much time to really spend and see more of like the fleshed out stuff. I would love to see more movies happen, but for me good movie, perfectly fine.
Perfectly fine. I'm 100% with you on that. And like, it's fun. There was not a moment in that movie where I wasn't having fun.
Yeah, it was
like
very fun.
I had a really good time watching, and like, it's well animated. It's fantastic, and it tells like a semi-original story. Like it wasn't like Last of Us where like I knew the entire beats of the thing going forward. It was nice seeing all the inclusions. Like, you were always surprised. It was like a little box of fun, you know. And they kept putting stuff out like, remember this? You want to play? You want to do some Mario Kart? You want to do some Donkey Kong? Let's go. And like, you could feel everyone that participated in this movie had a great time. I don't know if it's like an award-winning film. I'll tell you what, though. Speaking about things I had a blast with.
Yes.
Twisted frickin' Metal.
Yes, so this is one where, again, I have not watched this, so I will not have that big of an opinion on it. I did, however, see a couple of the trailers for it, because I know you were very excited about this one. I've heard some mixed reviews. Again, I'm deeply biased. I deeply believe in creating my own opinions, and I don't tend to care for opinions of others, generally speaking. Just based on the trailers I've seen alone, it looked like they were really having fun, especially that scene with does the clown have
Sweet
a name?
Tooth.
Sweet Tooth, yeah. That whole scene with Sweet Tooth, it was an arcade, right?
Yeah, it was in a casino.
Yes,
yeah.
No, he was in the arcade. What I loved about that in the casino, yeah. So what I loved about that whole scene, and I feel like certain nuances can be missed on people, because he had main character guy. I don't play the game. John Doe. They had John Doe up in the casino. He's obviously sick in the head, like totally insane character, this Sweet Tooth. And, you know, ready to kill the guy. And honestly, main character John Doe kind of did exactly what I would have done, which is kind of talked him down, got into the vibe, started establishing more of like, no, we're friends, we're gonna be bros. I know there's a lot of people who are like, just fight your way out, just have the battle. And just like, that's not as interesting all the time. It can be a lot more fun seeing someone be able to talk their way out of a situation, and especially with this type of kind of insane character, being able to do that is fully believable as far as I'm concerned. If I could convince him, be like, nah, man, that sounds awesome, dude. Like,
I'll totally come to your show.
Yeah, I want to see it. I want to come to the show. And he'd be like, yeah. And I was just like, he's that kind of insane character, and I feel like those characters you can have so much fun with. That trailer alone, I was just like, that whole sequence to me was a lot of fun.
I think if you liked that scene, you're gonna like a lot of Sweet Tooth scenes. It's a lot of him just having crazy plans and people just going along with it, because like, he's the most capable guy in this like apocalypse, in this place where everyone's crazy. He's the craziest, and he's also really effective. And that's the key thing. This show is so much fun. Honestly, this might be the best thing I have seen all year. And I saw a lot this year, and it is the most fun I've had watching something, especially like a franchise. To put in context, Twisted Metal 2 is probably one of the very first games I ever played. So this is near and dear franchise to my heart. But seeing them do this interpretation of it, which is still wildly different from the games, but still having that thing of just, this is just a kooky, funny, weird, wacky universe. But they found a way to make it be about people and like with like real problems and relationships and just really dissecting all of those took me completely off guard. And it still has really fun like set pieces and like really off the wall kooky sweet tooth moments scattered between the episodes that are there for people that are just there to see mayhem and carnage. It's way better than anyone gives it credit for, and I think there's a certain amount of buy-in that you have to take in and just say, this is not going to be a normal beat by beat like story or like universe. You're gonna see people in pup gear, and you're gonna be like, well, that's weird, and the show is gonna move on, and that's just the pace of it, and that's okay, because the end product I think is something incredibly unique, and I would love for them to see a season 2, especially since it has the Mortal Kombat problem where Twisted Metal does not take place in the Twisted Metal TV show. It is all set up for Twisted Metal, the tournament.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, that's another conversation to have about that.
Did you declare Mortal Kombat? No one ever declared Mortal Kombat. All right. So
winner.
I do think it's going to come down to The Last of Us and Super Mario.
Yes.
And I think they're kind of very opposite in a lot of ways. Personally, I think The Last of Us is going to win it. And I think this because it is fairly popular. The story is well known, well loved, and they were fairly faithful to that, not overly changing too much. And I do find a lot of the fan base, that's what they want to see. They want to see this faithful adaptation.
Yes.
Whereas on the flip side, something with the Super Mario Brothers movie, we're talking about a deeply beloved franchise from Nintendo, one of the most beloved things that exists. And also polar opposite, not following any particular Mario story, which totally makes sense. Mario is the perfect thing to be able to create a full cinematic universe that's just its own thing, creating fully original stories just for itself, and nobody really being upset about that, because who's gonna cry about, that's not my Super Nintendo Mario movie, like, who's gonna cry over that? So I think overall it will come down to these two movies, or these two series, franchises, options.
Nominees.
I think, the nominees. I think it's going to be The Last of Us.
I agree with you there. I think Last of Us will take it, closely followed by Super Mario Brothers, even though Twisted Metal should win. Give Twisted Metal all the awards. And I'm glad, I saw it actually did get enough people, watching it. It was also on Peacock, which is, before it came out, it was on Peacock before Sony made it available on, their video service on PlayStation, which is wild. But... yeah, go watch Twisted Metal. I'll watch Twisted Metal again.
I'm interested in watching Twisted Metal.
Yeah. All right, next category.
Category is Best Multiplayer.
Oh.
I think I know who's gonna win it.
For outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre. This is a mouthful.
It is quite a lot. Yes. Okay.
What is it, Harley?
It's Baldur's Gate.
It's
Baldur's Gate.
It is Baldur's Gate.
It's Baldur's Gate. It's going to be Baldur's Gate. Okay. But to be clear, again, because I have not played all of these, I have played 3 of these.
Uh-huh.
We have completed one of these.
Yes. But it was a struggle to complete it.
Yes, it was. Okay, so it's going to be Baldur's Gate.
It is going to be Baldur's Gate.
With the rise of popularity of Dungeons and Dragons just in general, and this game with all of its surprises, we have not completed this, I already know it's going to win. Insanely popular, a lot of people backing it. It had the budget, but it was made by Larian Studios, which is a smaller production studio.
They've been scaling up recently. They did Divinity way back in the day, and then what really brought them to prominence would be Divinity Original Sin, which follows the same sort of structure of Baldur's Gate, but what it introduced there is also co-op.
Yes.
So a lot of people played that game together, and it was very freeform, kind of like Baldur's Gate. You play together, you can wander around anywhere, nothing really locks anyone out of anything, and you kind of influence the world together. It truly feels like a cooperative game, especially since the mechanics are so dense. You can't just hey, hey, Harley, cast magic missile, do shield, bash, whatever stance, blah, blah, blah. She has so much shit going on, I can't play for her. Yes. It has to be a cooperative game. And I think when we take the spirit of the category in mind...
best multiplayer, yeah. It's because you run into similar issues, and I've mentioned these issues when you do play multiplayer games. So, for example, we're currently playing Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Again, Mario, very, very charming franchise. Extremely lovely to look at. Very fun levels. I love seeing all the different characters that I've known through my whole life of gaming. Very charming. However, it's pretty common that we will accidentally end up pulling or tugging each other along. Yeah. I know that I've accidentally forced you into death. You forced me into death because whoever is at the forefront, there are times when you might feel there's no point in you even being there. You didn't...
There's stages where you're forced to run, and then if you leave the other person behind, they're just not in the game anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't feel like there's that full participation. It is, of course, fantastic, especially for families, for siblings playing together. I do like, you can revive each other, so you can always keep going. All of that, yes, very well-rounded, charming, but it's one of those games where I don't generally enjoy multiplayer games, and one of the key things is that I run into a lot of it where it's just like, why am I here? You're either not contributing something, somebody else is pulling ahead of you, you're not able to explore in an organic way that you would do because the other person has different ways that they want to do things. These are all the problems that I run into. Super Mario Brothers has these problems, but not as much as other games. Diablo 4 being the one that we have completed so far, did enjoy the game. Didn't run into as many of those problems. I did at least feel useful and there and present. I at least had the individuality of being my own class, who I was, and having abilities that were my own. It is still a game where you kind of still need to tug each other along. You can run into the issue of I kind of wanted to explore this area, or I would have explored this or done this in a different way, but I'm kind of here with another person and they want to do it a different way. That tug and pull. Some people may not care about that. There are people that don't mind getting tugged along, but as someone who is very active in story and character and world, very excited for Diablo 4. Ultimately ended up kind of disappointed with certain things, sadly, especially with Lilith. I was hoping for so much more. Yeah. And Baldur's Gate, so far, again, haven't completed it, but I haven't run into any of those problems yet. I do feel very individual. I feel very needed. I do like the battle system that they have, the control of other characters, and the fact that they did such an amazing job with the D&D concept. The choices that you make, the conversations that you have. This is a highly replayable game. Ridiculously replayable. For those reasons, I'm just like, it's Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win it.
Diablo 4 was just so disappointing. I went into this thing, really excited.
Especially after playing the demo.
Yeah, the demo... The demo was better than the rest of the game.
It kind of was. The demo made me want to see what was coming next in the game, and it felt like it took so long to see what was next.
Yeah, and it felt just the whole of it was just kind of a nothing potato. Growing your character as well. I never got to a point where I felt powerful in that game. Everything felt from we played that game for 35 hours. And the entire time, I felt like I was doing just the same amount of damage, except the enemy's numbers were bigger now, and my numbers were bigger to compensate for it.
Yeah, it felt like it just scaled. It's you may as well have just stayed at level 1 doing 5 damage against an enemy with 15 health.
And I felt you spent so much time just going through dungeons, and what you got at the end of it just never felt worth it.
Yeah, nothing ever felt very exciting.
Remember when we were playing Diablo 3 and then you got these boots and then suddenly every kick you had sent fireballs that made people explode?
Yeah, no, that was insane. It came down to that was an item where there was multiple times where I found other items that were technically more powerful, but removing that ability was not as fun. So I never wanted to give up that item. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I didn't get any of that in Diablo 4. It was a pancake.
I also have not played Party Animals, so I have no opinions.
Party Animals is fine. I wanted to like it more than I did, and part of it, we got together with people online and we played it. It's a wiggly wobbly party game.
I was like, isn't it kind of it gives me Fall Guys vibes?
Yes, it is definitely kind of like that, but mixed with Gang Beasts. Do you know Gang Beasts?
Of course not.
Okay, it's you're basically trying to just push people off platforms.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Party Animals is, but with some of them have different objectives. One of them you're trying to put coal onto a train. That's probably the most fun I had because one person was just playing a gorilla, and he was on the other train with like a shovel, and anytime the other team would try to get onto a thing, he would just hit them with a shovel and they would go flying. So he just became this like stone gorilla guardian, and that was like, as far as co-op experience go, that was very fun for me. I don't think it was very fun for the other team though.
Probably not.
Not all the games are made equal in Party Animals, and I remember just having really bad trouble like getting people into matches, because if people had to leave or come back, you had to wait for a full match to compete. Some of them took like 20 minutes, which is like way too long for like a party game, or like the score limits were like way too high. I don't think I would pick this one, even though like on its whole, it's fun. It's really fun when it's good, but I don't know. Street Fighter 6 though.
Yes, I know you've got thoughts and opinions on Street Fighter 6. I want to be clear, I do not play fighting games. This is a particular category that I do not enjoy, especially for multiplayer, or even if they had a cooperative mode. It's just not a style of game that I enjoy. I can really get behind characters. I will say the whole Mortal Kombat franchise is my most favorite fighting game franchise that I have never played and will never play. But I am here for Scorpion and Sub-Zero. I love the characters and stories. I do believe that you can be a fan of something even if you don't consume it in its traditional format.
Yeah. I definitely like fighting games a lot, but I never traditionally liked Street Fighter. I've tried I started with 4. I played 2 when I was a kid, right? But let's say when we were really looking at fighting games and trying to get good at fighting games, I started with 4. Did not really hook me. 5 didn't hook me. Street Fighter 6 got me really hard, and I learned how to play Street Fighter with Street Fighter 6, and playing it on the fight stick, playing it online, ranking up my characters. I think it's really, really fun. I don't know if we're considering best multiplayer. It is mostly a multiplayer game, yes, but as by nature of a game that it's you're playing it at events. You're playing it in a group of people that have already played the game. I don't think it's something that when you consider the accessibility of all of these, the features for multiplayer in Street Fighter 6, perfectly fine. Ranked mode, it's great. The battle hub where you can go around this arcade and stack up on an arcade and play with people to replicate that arcade experience. I think that's great. But it's what a fighting game should be. It didn't blow me away. It is what it should be. I think the game itself is way better than something that you're gonna support best multiplayer for. This is a different conversation of where I would have what this game is actually good at.
Yeah, it's really if it came down to comparing to other fighting games, sure. Yeah. But in terms of the best multiplayer category, especially with
Baldur's freaking Gate 3 in the mix?
Baldur's Gate 3, even Diablo 4, I would even argue Super Mario Brothers Wonder could be a better multiplayer experience. And this, of course, is all opinions and how you like to approach games and the experiences that you like to have. But just, I don't know which of these could even tackle Baldur's Gate 3.
At least, I'll say this over Super Mario Brothers Wonder over Street Fighter 6. I can play Super Mario Brothers Wonder with you. Yes, we can play Super Mario Brothers Wonder. I would rather continue playing Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah. Baldur's Gate 3, I think, wins.
Yes.
You agree?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I will be very surprised if Party Animals wins it. I'll say that. If Party Animals comes to the gate, I'll give them the clap, but I will be shocked.
Very well. What your personal favorite? Also Baldur's Gate 3?
Yes, I really wanted to love Diablo more than it's because the demo made me so interested in the story. Seriously, plot and characters is the only reason I play video games. If you don't have that, I'm fine that the game exists. I'm just not going to play it. The demo got me so excited about the story and Lilith and everything that was going to happen, and the game didn't deliver. And even though I haven't completed Baldur's Gate 3, just the number of people that I talk to, the number of replayabilities, the fact that it's everywhere right now, people are extremely excited. There's some lines that could take you many, many plays to even see those scenarios with characters. I think that's going to be an extremely, extremely tough thing to beat.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, next category.
Category is your category.
Best...
I have no opinions. Whichever game has the coolest looking cars gets my vote.
It is actually kind of surprised that all of these are car games except for EA Sports FC 24, which is a new name for FIFA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's EA's FIFA game, because FIFA
Doesn't FIFA anymore?
Well, they wanted to charge them more money, and then they said, like, we are probably big enough that we don't need the name, we just need the players and stuff.
Speaking of name, did we actually say the name for the people that are only listening?
Best sports / racing for the best traditional and non-traditional sports and racing game. Okay, personal gripe, don't lump sports with racing games. They're different. Like, you can't tell me Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged deserves to be in the same category as EA Sports FC 24.
Yeah, I'm going to say there's one sports game and 4 car / racing related games. That feels very unfair.
Yeah. I'm going to go through this really quickly. F1 23, way better game than F1 22. The racing is a lot tighter. Definitely enjoy playing it. The story mode there, which is an original story, I think it does a really good job at telling a story. I still feel that the real stories around the F1 are way more interesting, and I would love to have like a mode where you're playing through those specific moments and jumping into cars. I would love to see that. I think F1 2013 had a mode like that. I don't really remember. I played way too many Formula 1 games. Forza Motorsport, have not played enough of it. I really like the foundation they have as like a live service game where they're building up stuff on. The multiplayer components to it are very good. I like that they're forcing you to play practice, forcing you to do laps around the track before multiplayer as part of qualifying, and I really like that they're trying to build up more relationship with different cars and different tracks. It's a good progression, and I will be playing more of it. I have not played Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged. I liked the first Hot Wheels Unleashed. I think it had like a weird sort of balancing problem where that game was like way too hard, way too quickly. I don't know how this has been received. Also have not played the Crew Motorfest. Really liked the Crew 2. When I think about who wins this, it's hard to tell.
Personally, just on visuals, I want to vote for Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged because, one, I love Hot Wheels, but two, there's a monster truck in the picture.
Yeah.
And I love, if any of these was Monster Truck the game, that just gets my vote. I don't care how bad it is.
That's your personal pick then.
That'll be my personal pick because Monster Truck.
It is actually like a really fun game. Like, that game blew everyone away when the first one came out. It was really good. I'm interested in seeing what they did for a sequel. Fortunately, did not play it. I think of these two, I would probably pick F1 23 just because it's personal. Like, I really like Formula 1, and I think they definitely made like a way better game here. But you know what? They actually didn't even really push like the envelope too much, other than, you know, they made the racing part good.
Really? The racing part of your racing game is good?
F1 22, you just slid around the track all the time, and I feel like 23, like they tighten it up in a way that like you can actually play with the controller and with a wheel, and it feels pretty good. But Forza Motorsport like does feel like a very solid I don't know.
So, but
I don't know what
two
wins. I think it's one of these two because I don't play the FIFA games. I don't know what wins like that. But every review that I read about FC 24 is just like it's more of the same. I don't even know if they do the story mode. Back when I was playing, I really like the story modes of those games. I love listening to sports stories. I really like seeing sports anime. I like following like real sports stories, like in Formula 1. And I like watching sports movies.
And I don't.
So I liked it when EA Sports FIFA started doing that. I don't even know if it does it in this one or if they were actually keeping with it. But, you know, I think F1 23 or Forza Motorsports take it. I'm going to say Forza Motorsport wins it, I think. Just on a pure like graphical scale.
Alrighty.
Let's take it. But of these, I actually don't know who would win. My personal pick, actually...
Hot Wheels.
It's
Monster
not on
truck,
this list.
Monster Truck.
I'm trying to see if it was like... No, Cruis'n Blast did not come out.
Oh, if you could pick... What is your all-time favorite racing game?
Ridge Racer Type 4.
What is your all-time favorite sports game that is not racing?
NBA Jam.
All right. Heard it here.
I didn't have to think about it.
All right. Category is Best Sim/Strategy.
Best game focused on real-time or turn-based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform.
And I have only played one of these because I collect the franchise.
Nice. It's Company of Heroes. You love military men's.
Oh, yeah, I love the military and the wars. It's not.
So our nominees are Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, which finally came out, City Skylines 2, Company of Heroes 3, Fire Emblem Engage, Pikmin 4. I have played none of these games. This is your category.
Oh my god, that's not okay. All right. So,
what did you feel about Fire Emblem Engage?
Fire Emblem Engage. I have not completed it yet. I do think it has some interest. See, I think an interesting thing that they did with Engage, and again, having not completed it just yet, is that they brought back old characters. So I think they were going for the good nostalgia touch. I enjoyed it. I liked the nostalgia of having certain characters that I would be able to equip to basically be able to help me. I haven't made it far enough into the story to be overly attached to any characters just yet, but you see a lot of different personalities, which I think is very interesting. It still follows that core Fire Emblem, of course. I do love this type of tactical strategic RPG in particular. Again, extremely biased. I love crazy worlds, interesting characters. Give me the magic, give me the everything. I've never been one to be all that intrigued by this takes place in a real place in the world during a real setting and everything is super real in reality. It's just not why I play video games. I can say, prediction-wise, I might give it to Pikmin 4.
Oh.
I've never played a Pikmin game. Everybody is so excited.
They are.
So deeply. Okay. Like, if you meet a Pikmin person, someone who likes Pikmin, they like Pikmin. So, I don't know if Pikmin's gonna take it. I haven't played it. It's very cute. But I'm just like, everybody with their mobile apps, everybody was insanely excited at PAX, the giant, like, area that had all the Pikmin statues and everything. Like, I didn't see no statues for Company of Heroes 3. I didn't even see any statues for Fire Emblem. Yeah. But yeah, Pikmin 4, it's, again, a Nintendo franchise. Nintendo has, like, the hearts of a lot of people. I wouldn't be surprised if Pikmin 4 wins. I have no idea if Fire Emblem will win. Wouldn't be surprised about Pikmin 4.
Do you feel Fire Emblem Engage was a step back from Fire Emblem Three Houses? Because I don't feel people talking about Engage as much as they did with Three Houses.
See, when it comes to Fire Emblem, it basically... Fire Emblem Awakening was kind of like lightning in a bottle. So when Fire Emblem Awakening was made, it was the make or break. If that game failed, that's where Fire Emblem was going to die.
That's the 3DS one?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, the one on 3DS, it was the one that introduced the marriage concept. You being able to marry other characters.
Oh, it's that new?
Yes, as well as being able to marry characters together. And this created an interesting dynamic of creating bonds. And then specifically on the board, the stronger your bond was, whether it was leading to a romantic bond or just a friendship bond, with those characters being around you on the battlefield would net you bonuses. And it was a very, very good concept. And it did create something great, and they have continued using that concept moving forward. Every game since has had that mechanic. I'm just not convinced they're really utilizing it. They kind of have just done the same thing over and over. They haven't really changed too many things up in terms of that format. But like, here's the characters. I do know, especially with some of the newer games, there's the complaints of there's not enough options for LGBTQ. So, like, not really. Oh. There hasn't been, especially, even with some of the last ones, there was only, if you were a boy, there was maybe one other, like, if you played a male character, there was maybe one other male character that you could romance. And if you were a female, of course, you got up to, like, 3. I do believe with Fire Emblem Engage, they have widened that a lot more, so you do have a lot more romantic options within those.
There's more engaging.
There is. Yes. Which is good to see. I'm just not sure that that's really enough. And again, I haven't finished playing it, so I can't fully speak to the different things that they tried out, that they have introduced or anything like that. Definitely, I think the newest thing that they did is with the main character you play as, and spoilers for anybody who hasn't played this character, you are basically a bit of that amnesia thing, which always makes sense for that self imposition, you know, putting yourself in the character's
self-insertion.
The self-insertion, that's the word. But yeah, she's actually a big deal.
Oh, yeah?
Which is interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. So she or he, who or whichever one that you aspire to be your version.
Whichever Colgate protagonist.
Yes, exactly. Choose thine version. But yeah, so I'm definitely intrigued in seeing more. And I do like that it does have really big, bombastic kind of personalities.
Okay. I have no thoughts other than these are all games that I would really love to play.
Yes.
And for
you.
Yes.
I'm gonna stick with Fire Emblem.
Yes, for sure. Company Heroes, I played the first game, and I really liked it, and I never finished it. And I didn't play Company Heroes 2. I said I would, and in the time that I said I would play Company Heroes 2, they released a sequel. And it's not like they came out very fast. These games are like 6 years apart.
Oh, so you're just taking it's that slow burn.
It is. City Skyline as well. I booted up. I can't get far in. I would love to play a city builder that lets you take a city from like a village to like an industrial like megaplex.
Yeah.
Like Civilization, but a city builder. I'm trying Transport Fever 2, which is kind of like that, and that's more my vibe. I don't have anything else to say about that. Yeah. Advance Wars 1 and 2, I'm glad they finally released it. I will play it eventually.
Yes. I have no idea who's gonna win. I'm gonna vote on Pikmin just because of the pure excitement. It's one of those things where like the fans love it. I have no idea again what the jury wants to see.
Yes.
So it's hard. Like if they like the big bombastic stuff, Nintendo is just. I think just the safety vote is if there's a Nintendo, pick the Nintendo.
I think my prediction will line up with yours. I think that if you say that Fire Emblem has like all that like. You're not really feeling good about it, then I would jump onto Pikmin 4.
Yeah, I, again, haven't completed it. I haven't seen enough of the changes, but definitely all the previous Fire Emblems, from, like, Awakening up, because Awakening is when they had that really, really good new stuff that got people excited, and the stuff that they introduced, like, you felt really intrigued by what was going on. They just did not have that in Three Houses or with Fates, and it just felt like a lot of the same.
Yeah. I mean, just get to think about this. Would you call Pikmin 4 a strategy game? Or a sim?
I have no idea. I've never played it. Something flowers and the dog has no nose.
Yes. Yeah, you play Pikmin.
And I like the creepy little white one with the big old red eyes.
Yeah.
He seems not okay.
Yeah.
Is he okay? Are they okay?
I don't know.
Do you water the Pikmins?
Oh God, I don't even know if you do. Okay,
I think that rock has an eye. See, I just
the rock does have an eye. Yes, this one was in the second game. I think.
I do know apparently that Pikmin is just insanely popular. I don't know if I just live too deeply under a rock. I don't meet a lot of day-to-day people that are super into Pikmin. Maybe it's way more popular in Japan.
Yeah. But
I have heard it's insanely popular. Everybody was super excited. And apparently they've been screeching into the void for a new Pikmin. So I would safety cast my vote Pikmin 4.
I feel unjustifiably because they've been making Pikmin games pretty frequently. They did it for a while, but they put out Pikmin 3 on the Wii U. Then they put out Pikmin 3 Deluxe on the Nintendo Switch. And then I don't hasn't been available in a long time since Pikmin 3 came out. So that they put out Pikmin 4.
Maybe they were just ready.
I'll tell you what. Metroid Prime 4. I've been waiting a lot longer, so they can stop screaming. Alright, so next one. It's weird because we always go previous.
Right. Category is Best Family Game.
For the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform. Your nominees are Disney Illusion Island, Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. We've already talked about some of these games.
We have. This should probably go... But this is going to be in a family game perspective.
Yes.
And again, I have played one of these. I watched you play some of one of these?
No.
Okay.
Sonic. You watch him play Sonic Frontiers.
Oh,
Sonic
okay.
Superstars is more in line with the 2D Sonic game, and it's I almost bought it on Black Friday, and I decided not to.
Well, I don't have a family, so thanks for reminding me of that nominees.
Wow.
If I had to guess, Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
I'd say that. I don't know what Disney Illusion Island is.
I know that's a newer one.
It is.
And I know that Disney does, like, I kind of, without knowing anything, when it comes to just Disney, it might come down to Disney versus Nintendo. But a Nintendo game is going to take it.
Poor Sonic. But yes, I think Super Mario Brothers Wonder win it just because the sheer amount of whimsy in Wonder.
Oh,
let's talk about the game itself.
Yeah.
Holy crap, that game is whimsy in a game cartridge.
Yeah, the sounds are wonderful. I love the talking flowers. Like they made these like new
You do
interactive.
like the talking
I do
flowers.
like the talking flowers. Yeah,
Okay.
I want to know what they have to say.
I feel that way too.
I love the
So
cute
much-
little
yeah.
voices. Like it's. I've always said this about the Mario Brothers franchise. I've not played all of the Mario games. I think it's because at a certain point, it's kind of a lot of the same again. It's a lot of reused, rewashed stuff. There are certain ones that I do want to play that I know they created different stuff. I haven't seen anything with Rosalina. Y'all can shoot me. But Super Mario Brothers Wonder, like Mario is just, it's so charming. It's delightful to look at. It's very whimsy. I would recommend it to any family with kids. Like, make them look at these bright characters and these lovely worlds and the charming sounds. Like, everything is extremely engaging. And especially in Mario Brothers Wonder, this is probably the first Mario game where I really pay attention to the backgrounds a lot. Like, the different things moving in the background, especially when we did that Bowser's... It was the ship or the castle? I think it was the ship.
The airship?
The airship, yeah. I think so, yeah. And like just the stuff happening in the background, I was just like, I love it. I love this new concept that they've taken with Bowser. I like that Wonder is bringing some new stuff out there. Never played Disney Illusion Island, but Disney just has some insane power. Mm-hmm. There are some psycho Disney fans out there.
There are.
I would honestly say between the... And I just haven't played enough of Pikmin 4 to know what makes it a family game, other than, again, being very charming. I don't know what the things are that you can do together. I don't know if it suffers from what Super Mario Brothers suffers from, which is, like, again, I can just wander on the screen and kill you because you got stuck somewhere. And similarly, it's just like... Or... You know, I can get bopped off the screen and you have to keep going ahead because it's a race or you gotta run.
Yeah.
And so things like that, those are my little, like... things, but yeah, I would probably, just based on Disney being Disney, no, I've heard no reviews, never seen it, but I would narrow it to.
I think because of that, because it hasn't gotten that much attention as Super Mario Brothers Wonder, I think Super Mario Brothers Wonder takes it.
Yeah, it's a known franchise. I think it has the edge on Disney. If Disney does take it, it's because it's Disney.
Yeah, I think it... Also, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is... I've played like all those new Super Mario Brothers games, the ones that are 2Ds, that they've put out for like the DS, the 3DS. None of them come close to Super Mario Brothers Wonder as feeling like a true like successor to, you know, Super Mario Brothers World, Super Mario World.
Yeah.
And yes, I know Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island is the sequel to Super Mario World, but like, come on, what are we talking about? This is the one that I feel like really is Super Mario World 2. And just the unique mechanics in each of the levels, having the Wonder Seed there in pretty much all the levels that give you something to look forward to. Like, you always want to play another one, see what they do differently, and Mario has always been really good about making those levels have unique sort of tricks to them. This one, I feel like they took the drop of LSD extra to give it that little extra punch. It's my personal preference to win, and I think it's also the one that wins.
Yes.
Next category, best fighting game.
This is your category. I'm voting for Mortal Kombat because I'm deeply biased. I love the story in Mortal Kombat. I love most of the characters. Some of them are forgettable. I am literally here for Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
So what Mortal Kombat 1 is running up against is God of Rock, Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl 2, Pocket Bravery, Street Fighter 6. Of these, I have played Mortal Kombat 1 and Street Fighter 6. I don't know what God of Rock is, but I really want to know now.
Yeah, that looks very
It looks really cool. I want to check that out. It's just, wow. I don't know what Pocket Bravery is.
It sounds like a mobile game.
It does. I wonder what it is. There's a guy that looks like Zangief in it.
A little, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
This aggressive bear man.
So I'm just going to talk about Mortal Kombat 1 and Street Fighter 6. Mortal Kombat 1 has the better single player components to it in that, like, Street Fighter 6, the story mode is awful. Like, sorry, it's not awful. Let's not be harsh. I don't want to say that. I think it's misdirected a bit. In theory, I like it. You're running around in the city. You're doing quests. You're punching people there. The story is just non-existent, and I think the progression is super slow. I did not enjoy playing it. I'm not going to say it's awful. People worked very hard on it, and it's hard making single-player components for fighting games. I apologize for saying that. I did not enjoy the solution they came up with this. Mortal Kombat 1, at least you have the really great story that comes through it. Some of the shots, just camera-wise in Mortal Kombat 1, is better than in most films. Like, just from a pure composition point. I did not super enjoy some of the beats that they went with Mortal Kombat 1. I'm talking around it because I know, Harley, you want to see it. But it started out one way and then it ended up in a completely different spot that I wasn't expecting. But I did not like the scale that it went for afterwards. And people that played it will understand it will make sense. To play, I think it's very hard. Street Fighter 6, I think, is oh god, they're both so much fun to play. You're asking me to pick between my favorite children. I really enjoy playing both. I think Street Fighter 6 is a little less frustrating to play. Mortal Kombat 1 is a lot slower. Definitely online, it was first to 3, and that was like super annoying to do the ranked modes. Street Fighter 6 has a ranked division for every single character and like very defined like brackets for difficulty, whereas in Mortal Kombat 1 it resets every season, and I think that just inherently is less interesting to go back to because you're just fighting wildly different sorts of people. You're either crushing them or getting crushed. It feels rare where I have like a match that's, really hard fought, and the ones that I do, it goes on for too long and I get too anxious and stressed. Street Fighter 6, first to 2, each character has their own difficulty ranking, gives you different things to aim for. The Battle Hub, I think, is fantastic when you just want to chill and play a fighting game and hang out with people. This wins it for me. Unless one of these 3 other games is just mind-blowing, amazing, and I just don't know about it. I think Street Fighter 6 wins.
Yeah, I'm going to take your opinion on that because I don't play them. I'm strictly here for the story and characters. That's why my forever love is Mortal Kombat. Street Fighter 6 had Marisa? Marisa.
Yeah.
I did really love her character. I will say that if I could vote for any particular character, and Mortal Kombat wasn't here because otherwise I'd vote for Scorpion. Definitely, I did really enjoy watching you play Marisa in Street Fighter 6. Nice. I think she comes across extremely well. I love these big buff ladies, and I especially love. I think what I love most is just when she does win, that she does pick up her opponent. Like, you can this is an honorable lady. She's here for a really good rocking time. She wants to rock you. She wants you to rock her. There is no, like, animosity. And
she'll take you to the MT
Oh,
afterwards.
yeah. She's going to take care of you, baby. But yeah, it's one of those where I love seeing characters that are like that because especially these are fighting games. They inspire this whole fighting violence. You're always going to have those people crying about, video games making all the kids violent. And it's just like, which is not true, but it can desensitize. I do agree with that to a certain degree. I do like seeing these good characters.
I think I'm very glad you pointed that out because as much as I like Mortal Kombat 1,
it's icky.
Mortal Kombat 1 is mean.
It's very mean.
Like it's very mean online, having people do fatalities on you, or like just being able to taunt you in like so many different ways just by wasting your time. Street Fighter 6 is all about getting better with each other, and like that's their message from the forefront. And I really appreciate about Street Fighter 6 because a lot of fighting games can be like a bit antagonistic, and there's a lot of bad personalities out there that kind of make fighting games a very hostile environment to be a part of. Street Fighter 6 is the most welcoming I've seen a fighting game be, and just the music is so good, the visuals are so fantastic, and having like the majority of the characters being like really like fun and like genuine and like nice. Even the ones that are like just really mean, like Jury, they're just so over the top, cartoonishly villainous, and like it doesn't feel vindictive, even when they win. It just feels part of their character, and I don't feel there's a lot of room for like griefing other players, and the community feels very wholesome. Not to say that Mortal Kombat doesn't have a good community, I just feel that the game is just kind of mean. Yeah, it's just kind of mean sometimes, and I feel like it's a little unnecessary.
It has the potential to foster more negativity, which is not what I'm looking for in a game. I'm here for a good time.
Yeah, and that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next category. Best RPG.
Best RPG. Damn. All right. Well, if Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't take Best Multiplayer, it's taking Best RPG.
Yeah. For the best game designed with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences, of which there are none here, actually.
I was going to say, y'all don't need to be here.
So yeah, our nominees are Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. It's funny seeing those two together.
Starfield, yes.
Sea of Starfield.
Yeah, the Sea of Starfield.
Okay.
Definitely out of the gates, it's going to be Baldur's Gate 3. If
I
it doesn't
think so.
win both categories, it's winning at least one of them.
It is the most RPG,
It is
also.
it is extremely RPG.
As far as like picking a role and then progressing that character in the way that you want to, it is the most RPG.
Yeah, extreme RPG. And again, the Final Fantasy franchise across the board, I think is my largest collection. I own every game. I have characters, figures, books. I collect art. It's amazing. I have pictures of the Bahamut statue from going to PAX. It was amazing. I haven't had a chance to play 16 yet. I am very excited to play 16, but I just know it's not as RPG as Baldur's Gate 3.
I'm not on the camp of like those people that say like Final Fantasy 16 isn't even an RPG, and like it's still, you level up your character, you put equipment on them, it's an RPG. It's fine. Boy, I really liked Final Fantasy 16 until I didn't.
Yeah, you had some thoughts, and I need to play it so I can get your deeper thoughts. Yeah, I've heard some similar things between people. I'm like, all right, I gotta check this out.
It's really good until
it's not.
Until it's not. Like, it's sporadically amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just everything that they put into it that's not main story is just really not great. And like again, you don't feel like you're progressing a lot. I felt like I was doing this. I found like a routine to go through that game, and then I stuck with it. Which I think when you consider like a role-playing game, that's not what I want. I want to be surprised. I want to change the way I'm doing stuff. I want things that I get to drastically affect the game. Final Fantasy 16 didn't do that for me. Mm-hmm. Lies of P is like... Sorry, did you want to say more?
No.
Okay. Lies of P is a game that I should have played more than I did. A lot of people call it like a successor to like Bloodborne. I don't really see that in what I saw, other than like it's Victorian era and they go for like a steampunk aesthetic. But like Bloodborne was definitely more gothic horror and like cosmic towards the end of it, and I really dig that about it. Lies of P didn't really feel that for me off the bat. I think it's perfectly fine from what I played, but I also didn't feel compelled to play a lot more than where I got to it. I think I will play more of it. I'm interested to see more, but I just can't say more on that.
And I just haven't played it at all.
Yeah. It's a Pinocchio game.
Oh.
That's Pinocchio.
Well, that makes me want to play it less.
Right? But it's actually like really interesting.
I know Sea of Stars.
You do? Okay.
No, I don't.
Okay.
You gotta let me finish saying things.
Sorry.
So I know Sea of Stars is one that you've mentioned you really want to play because you've heard good things.
Yes. People that I know that really like role-playing games really like Sea of Stars. Lucas mentioned it.
Yeah.
But I know nothing about it. Starfield. I love everything about this game except the parts that I hate.
Which is?
Which is a lot of it.
Yeah.
I've
heard things.
It's... God. Where do I begin? This is the game that I really, really, really liked, and I don't know why. Because every single small thing about it, I really don't like. I don't like the inventory management. I don't like the menus in that game at all. I don't like how you just fast travel from place to place, and that's like the best way to see it. I do like the stories that are told. I think they're interesting following those threads, but I don't think they're told particularly well in terms of like the actual like framing. It's a lot of talking to people and having them tell you a story, and then you go do a thing that's kind of cool, and you explore environments and they're kind of interesting sometimes. It's weird because I really do like it. But
so it's kind of like a lot of talk, don't show.
Not even that, because they do show you some cool stuff. Like they talk about like there's like, oh, this guy, he's like the best merchant in the galaxy, and he's got a ship that's like full of all this stuff, and you go in his ship, it's full of cool looking stuff, and he's like this very wild. You would like him. He's this very like out there like
merchants.
Yes, who has built like a city on his ship just full of like collectibles. Yeah, he's cool and interesting.
It's the life I aspire to have.
Right? God, but like, I don't know. It's a lot of like really mediocre stuff that just makes up a game that has a scope that a lot of games don't have, and I think that's interesting. And I always keep wanting to like it more than I do, and parts of it just keep pushing me away. But at the same time, I played it over and over and over, like again, like every single day I just wanted to play more of it. But in terms of the category, let's be honest here, it's Baldur's Gate.
It is.
That's the one that's gonna win. That's the one that I would pick to win. As far as like the ones we played that I've enjoyed the most. That's it. That's what it is.
Yes.
So next category. Best action/adventure game. For the best action-adventure game, combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving.
Oh, damn. You have played...
Every single one.
Yeah, I was
of
like,
these
you have
games.
played all of these. I have not had a chance to play Tears of the Kingdom. So...
Yeah.
This is going to be all you.
Yeah. Our nominees are Alan Wake 2, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Alan Wake 2. Oh boy. I wanted to like this game way more than I did. I think it has the same problem that a lot of random games do, where I really like the execution, I really like the direction of them. I don't think they're the best designed games. I don't think they have the best level design, and this one really suffered from being an open world game in my opinion. I really like the story they were telling. I really like the character. Saga Anderson is amazing. I think she's a really good addition to the story. I really liked playing as her and like the way she interacted. Something you may not know, the director is actually the face model for like one of the director of the game sound like he's the face model for like an FBI character that works with Saga.
I mean, that's always fun.
It's really good. He's also voiced by the voice actor for Max Payne, which is like one of Remedy's first games.
Nice.
So there's a lot of there was so much meta stuff happening in Alan Wake 2 that makes it really fun. But as like
so of these 5, most meta game.
Most meta game, yeah, but that's not. It's best action and adventure, and like I don't like the action in Alan Wake 2. I think it serves a purpose, but it's the thing that pushes me away from the game. Is like, oh, I gotta go across this map to investigate this question mark on there, and I'm fighting these enemies along the way, doing the flashlight and breaking stuff like that. I never found that very fun. Mm-hmm. Marvel Spider-Man 2.
Now, I haven't played this. I did get to watch you play quite a lot, if not all of it.
You saw me play most of it.
Yeah, I was there for plot whenever he was mostly like flying around, webbing around. I was like, man, I'm good.
This is the most fun game I've played all year.
Yeah.
Like, this game has the best buttons. It has the best, like, cinematic feel to it. It has, like, a very respectable open world that respects your time, gives you interesting things to do, and then gets out of your way. I was done with this game in 25 hours, and I was very happy with the amount of time I spent in it. And when they make an expansion, because they're going to make an expansion, there's a lot of side stories that tease up characters. I'm going to play this.
Yes.
Like, it has really amazing set pieces. It is technically so super impressive. When I think of an action adventure game, this is the type of game. Closely followed by Resident Evil 4.
Yes.
You make so many good decisions for like a survival horror game, which is what Alan Wake 2 tried to do, but with Resident Evil 4 you have so many things to think about, and it throws a lot of different scenarios at you, which Alan Wake 2 never really did. You're mostly dealing with the same sort of situations. As a remake from the game, you know, I played so much Resident Evil 4, and I love that game to bits. Constantly surprised by what they did in Resident Evil 4. It's what like a remake I think should be. It's constantly throwing new surprises, keeping the same like settings, scenarios, and characters that you really liked, but remixing the gameplay and making something that feels incredibly modern and continually surprising. It's between these. Oh, you know what? Tears of the Kingdom is right there at the end. I don't actually know, but if it was my personal vote, I would pick Spider-Man 2 followed by Resident Evil 4. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I am struggling to play this game. Struggling.
Well, that's what happens with Star Wars games.
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with this game. I don't understand why I don't like it more than I do. I don't know if it's just because the story is a slow burn and it's not pulling me through it, but like I don't feel compelled to explore the open environments. I think the combat is perfectly fine, but it's not as like fluid as Spider-Man. It's not giving me a lot of decisions to make like Resident Evil 4. It's a really good looking game. I want to like it. I like Star Wars. I don't know why I keep putting this game down. Kind of similar to Tears of the Kingdom. I keep putting this game down. And like I want to like it. I think it's way better than Breath of the Wild. 100%. Not that I didn't like Breath of the Wild. I did. I think Tears of the Kingdom, with like the different like levels that you can explore, the underground, the mid-level, and then the stuff in the clouds, the remix, instead of doing like the animals, they actually have like temples, which do feel like temples. I think the construction mechanic is really clever and really amazing, and it makes you have a lot of like decisions to make, and you really feel like you're authoring your own solutions to a variety of the problems that the game presents to you. I think it's on a design level very, very well designed. I don't know why I keep bouncing off of it.
I haven't had a chance to pick it up. I have been able to see like a bit of it, and of course I'm extremely intrigued. Like, my Final Fantasy is probably my largest collection of things. I'd say Zelda's my second largest. It's another one that I got really attached to. It was probably the game that really catapulted me into video gaming just in general. My unpopular opinion is that video games are better than books. And when I say that, what I'm talking about are games like Final Fantasy and Zelda, where it's these amazing worlds with these amazing visuals and these cool stories. And I'm very, very excited to play Tears of the Kingdom. I liked Breath of the Wild just fine. I didn't so much enjoy the departure from doing actual like dungeons or temples.
Mm-hmm.
Having just the tiny shrines strewn about everywhere, and then it was just like the 4 guardians that you go to and find. I'm just like, it was fine, but the shrines just weren't that interesting for me. It was more like I kind of got to just do as many I need to do to be able to make it to the end to finally face Ganondorf, their version of Ganondorf, whatever he had going on, Ganon.
Calamity Ganon.
Right, the Calamity Ganon. Again, especially with the amiibo system, I did like that I could get Epona. I'd say probably, I don't like to side quest. It's not my thing. If it's not an interesting side quest, I'm not doing it. I can say that with the Zelda franchise, I do a lot of the side quests because they are actually interesting. And probably one of the less interesting, but I still really wanted to go out of my way to do with Breath of the Wild, was getting the horses. Literally getting Epona, which you get through the amiibo taps, being able to get Princess Zelda's horse, Storm, and getting Ganondorf's horse, Phantom. Like, I really went out of my way to go those 3 horses. I have heard that so long as you have them in Breath of the Wild, they will appear for you in Tears of the Kingdom. I'm extremely excited about that. So, but having not played Tears of the Kingdom, I don't really know how to rank it, especially against something like Spider-Man, which I did get a chance to see. I do really enjoy a lot of those characters. I think it is going to hit a lot of people really well who enjoy Spider-Man, enjoy those villains, enjoy those characters, who are really going to take to that story. Resident Evil 4, another extremely beloved franchise, total departure with the horror aspect. I think it's going to be a tough one. I don't know where Tears of the Kingdom will rank in there. I do think it's going to rank well. It is Nintendo franchise, beloved franchise. People love Zelda. I just don't know if it'll outrank Spider-Man or Resident Evil 4.
I actually feel the opposite. I think that Tears of the Kingdom... actually I don't know. Here's the thing. When I think of the jury and the people that include it, Marvel Spider-Man 2 got really good reviews, but it was Tears of the Kingdom was unanimously 10 out of 10 from so many people.
Which totally makes sense. Again, I'm coming from the standpoint of having I've seen just a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to see too much.
Yeah.
My only concern is just if it's a sequel, because everyone's asking it's a sequel, how much better is it really? And I'm not looking at anything because I don't want spoilers. But yeah, if from your experience, you're
so much better.
It wouldn't surprise me if you're just Tears of the Kingdom wins. I'm just of course it does. It's a Zelda game. Yeah. But if you also said it didn't quite win, sequel issues, I'd be sure, that also makes sense.
Here's the thing. I think Tears of the Kingdom is a better adventure game. Mm-hmm. Well, that just blocks it out. It's a better adventure game than an action game.
Yeah.
I think the Marvel Spider-Man is a better action game than an adventure game.
Yeah.
I think Resident Evil 4 is the best action adventure game. There's exploration components to it. You're upgrading your character the more you explore. It's not just broken down to just simple side quests. It's you have to play a survival horror game and look around stuff. I think that balance between action and adventure is really well highlighted in Resident Evil 4. It's maybe missing a lot of really big set pieces, which I feel there is in Tears of the Kingdom and in Spider-Man 2, but because it's a horror game, it's more about there are big siege moments where a massive people are attacking a cabin and stuff, and that's probably what a set piece looks like. Yeah, I think if I'm gonna do the category and say best action adventure, I think Resident Evil 4 is my personal pick. I think Tears of the Kingdom wins this category. That's what the jury and the audience will pick.
I mean, my vote would definitely be for Zelda. It's fully beloved to me. It's always been a fantastic adventure, which is always what I'm in for. Good escapism. I love looking at everything. It looks fantastic. I wouldn't be surprised if it was any of those three for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be Star Wars or Alan Wake.
Yeah. I think Alan Wake 2 has gotten like a lot of really good press, but I feel there's probably part of the recency bias because that game just came out. But I feel like if we really consider the category, it's not the best things about Alan Wake 2. It's not in its action and adventure elements. I'm actually I'm surprised it got nominated, and I feel like it was just nominated by default because it was such a tremendous game. I don't think it fits the category. Moving on then.
Yes.
Next category. Best action game.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know they separated these out. Okay, for the best game in action genre focused primarily on combat. Okay, I see.
Why is your vote for Armored Core?
Because it's the best game in this list. It's Armored Core 6, Fires Rubicon, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Remnant 2. I'm gonna try and go through it really quickly through this.
Yeah, this is another category that's gonna be all you. Hi-Fi Rush, that is the one that was from the makers of...
The Evil Within.
Yeah, The Evil Within. I can say that, and so biased, want to point out, I love in the trailer for Hi-Fi Rush, they point out from the creators of, you literally just said it.
The Evil Within.
Yes, from the creators of The Evil Within, which I actually have watched Let's Players play that, so it's embarrassing that my brain can't remember. Like, from the creators of Evil Within, yes, really. And it's just like, yep, we made this, so I thought that was really fun. I love that they clearly know what they've done and what they're doing.
Yeah, Hi-Fi Rush it's really good. Like the incorporation of the music into the background, into the combat, I think is really well done. Better than most games that have attempted something similar to this, and it's definitely the one that me as someone without rhythm was able to kind of start getting a rhythm and get into the combat. It's another game that I didn't play more after the boss, and I can't tell you why because I do like everything about it. I think it's just this year was very overwhelming in general.
Yes.
But I definitely did want to play more of it, and I think I will go back and play more of it because I think it's aesthetically beautiful, it's musically a delight, and it's got the right kind of personality. I think you especially would really like, Harley, you would really like the attitude that this game has.
Yeah, it definitely has personality.
But
to the other categories, because I just jumped right to Hi-Fi Rush because I was just like, all right, I see you, Evil Within dead people.
Yeah. Evil Within dead.
Right, the dead Evil
Don't
Within.
open Evil Within side.
Yes, yes.
Armored Core 6.
Yes.
What a video game.
I know you were so excited.
I love Armored Core, and I was watching in the office when the Game Awards were playing last year. Last year? I don't know when it was. No, it was 2 years ago, maybe? No, it had to be last year. When they announced this game, I screamed around all my coworkers, and someone else did too. So I knew at least we were together on this, and this game did not disappoint. If we look at it in terms of like pure action,
yes,
and having consequences for your actions, building your mech, going into a combat arena, doing that mission, getting in and out, like all the missions are like super short. They're completely like action focused, not like, again, coming from the people that made Dark Souls and Elden Ring. It is so satisfying, and building your mech, authoring it, making those decisions, and then having real change based on your plan when you go into those missions, and feeling really rewarded for like playing the game extremely well. Super satisfying, and I cannot ask for like a better sequel, and I just want them to make more. They should make more. Give me expansions, give me sequels. I hope this hit, like, it seems like it hit really well for them. Obviously not as big as Elden Ring, aka the biggest game in the world, whatever. They should make more of this. Dead Island 2. Like this game, blew me away. Did not expect, like, in terms of, like, expectations. Did not expect it to be as good as it did. I think making a game where you're fighting, like, zombies with breakable weapons and crafting stuff, this nailed that. It's not really my favorite sort of, like, thing to do, but of the ones that I've played, this one's definitely the most fun. And on a technical level, they have this gore system that's, like, peeling layers off the zombies in like really realistic ways. It is absolutely disgusting. You can literally beat an enemy to a pulp so that there's nothing left. It is gross.
Sounds like everything I don't want.
Yeah, but it is impressive that they did it. So I'm very impressed with that. Ghost Runner 1, I liked playing it. Did not play Ghost Runner 2. That game came out like a month ago. I don't know how people have time to play these games and judge them fairly. That's kind of weird. Remnant 2. Honestly, very tightly compete with Armored Core 6.
Yeah, just visuals alone, because again, I haven't played any of these. I know the types of games that I generally enjoy, and like, I know Dead Island was a lot of fun. I did get to catch you playing some of it. At least what I seen looked like it was a fun time. Still not a game for me. Ghost Runner 2, it looks great. Like, this picture is awesome. I don't want to play it. If I had to go based on the visuals of all of these, Remnant 2 is the one that stands out to me. It's like, that's probably the game that Harley would enjoy. Look at this big, giant lady with her not quite halo, and I'm just like, stuff is happening, and I want to know what it is.
Harley, stuff is happening in Remnant 2. It is well. I don't think you'll like, because it is a third-person shooter.
Damn.
But it is...
I'll watch a Let's Player play it.
Well, here's the thing, though. Remnant 2, it is an action game because it is actually randomly generating the stories you're going to get along the way. Like, there's some main zones, and then you get either the A or B version of that zone, and then you're playing through a set story in that zone. But even the dungeons you encounter are remixed. It's not completely procedure generated, so there is some sort of handcraft component to it. But the idea is that you can play this game like several times over and over, so you get different remixed versions of that, and you're playing with friends, you're getting different gears, and there's so much hidden stuff that you can like find and search for that. And the environments and the enemies are all like wild and out there. It is really cool to see, and I wish I had people to play it with me, because that's sort of the main draw of the game for sure. If I had to pick though, and the one that I think will win is Armored Core 6. I think that's the one that would win of this category, and it's the one that I would pick as well.
Yeah, just from general knowledge, things that I've seen, general hype, as somebody who has not played any of these, I would cast my vote for Armored Core 6. There's been a lot of excitement. You've been especially excited. This seems to be something a lot of people have really wanted. It seems to have been very well received. I would cast my vote for Armored Core. That's why I told you, I'm like, why is it Armored Core?
Yeah, if there was also a category for best Reddit community... Holy crap, the Armored Core 6 Reddit community is amazing. Because so much of the game, like all the you never see any of the characters in the game. They're all just little icons. But they all have like, they're all over to top personalities. So you go on Reddit and it's people like drawing their interpretations of the characters, making little comics of like how these characters met, what did they do after the game is over? Especially Rusty. Oh my god, Rusty. Rusty, my beloved. Everyone is so mean to you in Armored Core 6 except Rusty. And I can't talk about it on the podcast because like stuff will happen. But Rusty is my precious little dog boy.
All right. We're here for Rusty.
We're here for Rusty.
And the next category.
Good segue. Best VR/AR. For the best game experience playable in virtual augmented reality, irrespective of platform.
Oh, the answer is Beat Saber. No, I'm kidding. I do love Beat Saber.
Honestly, personal pick would probably be Beat Saber for you, huh?
Yes. I mean, I love Beat Saber. It's a really fun space to be in. Good physical game. I love the music. I love the way it makes me feel. But, yeah. Anyway.
VR is such in a weird space right now.
Totally is.
Our nominees are Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Humanity, Resident Evil Village VR mode, and Synapse. I don't know what Synapse is, but the interesting thing to point out is that Resident Evil, Humanity, Gran Turismo 7, these are VR modes for games that you can play in non-VR.
Yeah. And
are probably the intended way to play them is not in VR. Like, Horizon Call of the Mountain came out specifically...
as a VR.
It's the PSVR 2 launch title.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't played it. But, like, it's such a weird category. And because of that, I think Horizon Call of the Mountain is probably going to win. I don't know what Synapse is.
I also don't know. Yeah. I don't know what Synapse is either. I do feel like the fact that Horizon Call of the Mountain was the only one that was actually created to be, like, a VR game, I kind of feel like it should win. Like, right? It should. That was their goal. They're like, we're going to make a VR game. If that one doesn't win, I don't play racing games. I feel like a lot of the people that enjoy racing games, I don't know what the experience is like. If it's a good experience, maybe Gran Turismo.
I don't like playing racing games in VR. I don't.
Just I would say if it's not Horizon Call of the Mountain, which should be the one, that was their intention. They were creating a VR game, not we created a game and then we just did a VR version for people. If it's not that one, just the fact that everybody's in love with this giant vampire mom. It might be Resident Evil Village just because,
Lady Dimitrescu.
Yes, the Lady Dimitrescu. Because maybe a lot of people just really enjoyed having a more upfront and personal experience.
Yeah. I can imagine that game being very visceral and aggressive. There's a lot of dogs barking in your face in that game.
Yeah, so I think Horizon Call of the Mountain should get it. I guess I wouldn't really be all that surprised if Resident Evil Village gets it. I don't think Humanity will get it.
No, I love Humanity. I don't think it wins this category.
Yeah.
I really like I like Humanity way more than you do.
Oh yeah, I don't like it at all. So definitely wait.
I hope
again, to the people who created Humanity, good job. I hope you do amazing things. I hope everybody buys Humanity. I hope this game makes you rich. I'm just not gonna play it.
Yeah, I love Humanity and I definitely want to play more of it. It's not my favorite puzzle game of the year. We'll get to that because I know it's here on this list somewhere. But boy, Humanity is something special. I really liked it. I don't know what else. I don't think there's too much to say about it. Well, not on here is the Assassin's Creed game, Nexus, which I was playing and I actually really do like it. It's just hard because I feel like a lot of VR games are great VR games, but they're also not really great games. Like that's a kind of caveat.
I sort of feel like the VR experience is still very baby.
I don't know if there's a single VR game that I played that I'm like, oh my... No, Half-Life Alyx, I think, is the one.
Other than Beat Saber, the only other VR game that I've purchased so far has been Moss.
Yeah, oh, Moss is fantastic.
And I did really... I haven't completed Moss because I honestly only bought my VR headset for Beat Saber. Yeah. But...
it's a simple game too.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed Moss. I did enjoy that as a character. Moss did sign language. I thought that was a really fantastic inclusion. Cool. I specifically had a couple like really awe-inspiring moments when you change scenes. Like there was one point where I ended up being in this forest and the first thing I seen was this big white deer and I was just like, oh my god. Yeah. There's a deer right there and I'm looking at it. So I do like that VR, it has that. It's just... It's baby. It's still baby. The tech for it is still baby. Like, it's progressing, but it's nowhere near as good as your straightforward video game. It's not as long. It's, it's hard. Even when you play Assassin's Creed, you have to stop after a while. I can't pain and the visuals.
And, like, I'm still, like, it's not using original characters. Mm-hmm. You're still going through... It feels like VR needs to justify itself. Like, oh, you're going to play as Ezio. You're going to play as Cassandra. All these characters that you really like. And then, like, yeah, but I like Assassin's Creed stories. Tell me a story about a new assassin.
Yeah. But I do want to see VR grow. I do, when a VR experience is good, I really enjoy it.
Yes. Half-Life Alyx is a really amazing experience. But it's a franchise that, it's a concept VR that feels baby, but it's been around for, like, 7 years or something, ever since, it's been, like, I think, 5 years at this point since I worked at like that VR company, and I don't feel like we've gotten that much farther since there.
No, yeah.
So next category, best mobile game. Best game playable on a mobile platform.
Yes, all right. List. I think I know the answer.
Final Fantasy VII, Ever Crisis, Hello Kitty.
Whoa! Sanrio took a dark turn.
Hello Kitty Island Adventure, Honkai Star Rail, Monster Hunter Now, Terra Nil. And your winner is Honkai Star Rail.
It is, yes. But to actually go through them, Ever Crisis, that was being featured at PAX, right?
Yes.
It looks great.
It looks great.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. I don't want to play it on my mobile device.
Hey, it's coming out on Steam later this year.
Hooray!
You can play it on Steam.
Hooray. But yeah,
play it on the Steam Deck.
Yes. I'm sure Ever Crisis, see, here's the thing, is if it's not Honkai Star Rail, I think it would be Ever Crisis.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Personally speaking, to be fair, I've played Honkai Star Rail. I've not played any of the other ones. I'm gonna download Heli.
See, you got it too.
No, you got the Killy.
Helly Killy Island.
The Helly Killy Island adventure. No, the Hello Kitty Island adventure. I think I'm gonna download that right now.
Yeah.
And play that. I love.
Look at Cinnamoroll.
I know, and look at his cute little hat. I love Sanrio. I was just like, oh my god, if Sanrio ever did anything for a good video game, I think we would all buy it all the time. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It has your good like Animal Crossing vibes. That's why Animal Crossing New Horizons had like the cards. You could get the Hello Kitty characters and like not the characters, but like a lot of their jazz and stuff is just like give me interactive Hello Kitty stuff. So I'm definitely downloading this to my phone right now. Honkai Star Rail coming off of Genshin Impact. I'm pretty sure that's the winner. That's going to be the one to beat. People are extremely excited. All the characters, the overall story. I really enjoy the battle, which will come to no surprise to anybody that knows that Final Fantasy is one of my most collected franchises.
It's turn-based now.
Yeah, so I like the turn-based. I do enjoy Genshin Impact. I mostly just enjoyed looking at stuff in it. I'm not super intrigued by much else. I'm there for the cool monsters. It's very, very bright and intriguing to look at. But ultimately, like, if I had to pick between that and, like, Breath of the Wild, like, I'm playing Zelda. Mm-hmm. Like, it's very Zelda vibes. Whereas at least Honkai Star Rail, it has more of a difference. Again, I'm not super intrigued by the story just yet. But it has some really fun characters, fun directions. I think it's a really, really excellent next game in the Hoyoverse. Monster Hunter Now and Terra Nil, I've not played either of those. Terra Nil looks interesting, but it looks like it's just set in just real world, real time.
Terra Nil is interesting. Terra Nil, it's also a PC game that I think just happens to also be on mobile. Oh, you know why it's on here? It's because it was part of the Apple Arcade, that subscription service. But like, this is also on Steam, and I wanted to get it, and I haven't bought it yet. But the idea is that you go to a place that's been like completely polluted, and it's a reverse city builder.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so you're bringing nature back to it. And it's more of a puzzle game. So like you're just like clearing out stuff, you're solving the puzzle, and then you move on to another place once you've greenified things.
Yes.
Which is very interesting.
Right,
sorry, no, it was Netflix. It was on Netflix, not Apple Arcade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which weird. Netflix now has games that you get with your subscription, which is weird.
It's just more revenue resources. Why not? And I haven't played Monster Hunter Now.
No, I don't know what you do in this game. One of our friends had it on her phone, I think, and then she was.
I haven't heard too much. Like, here's my problem. I know that Monster Hunter very, very popular, and for a good reason. Fantastical monsters. I love monsters. Yeah. So it's one of those things where I feel like if the winner is Monster Hunter Now, I'd be like, sure, it's Monster Hunter. People love Monster Hunter. I don't think it's gonna be. I'm really confident it's gonna be Honkai Star Rail, and if it's not, I'm really confident it's gonna be Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis.
Yeah. Monster Hunter Now is also by Niantic, I want to point out.
Yeah,
who makes Pokemon Go, so they're almost like guaranteed an inclusion here, but I know nothing about the game, and I haven't heard people talking about it to the level that Pokemon Go was talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, my personal pick, Honkai Star Rail.
Yeah,
and also the one I think is going to win. I've been playing. This game is just so well written. It's so charming, and like it's funny. That's the thing that caught me off guard. This game is really funny. And if, like you said, the battles, it's a very good turn-based game. It, as a mobile game as well, it respects your time in ways I feel like Genshin doesn't. It's gotten better about it, but it definitely is a great step up, and they should fold some of the changes in Honkai Star Rail into Genshin Impact, please, for the love of God. Let me send people on missions just automatically. Holy crap. So yeah, moving on. Next category. Best Debut Indie Game. For the best debut game created by a new independent studio.
I know your pick.
The nominees are Cocoon, 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 and Cocoon.
It's Oops All Cocoon, but seriously.
Seriously, it's Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower, Venba, Viewfinder.
The vote is Cocoon.
Cocoon is an amazing game.
I know.
Cocoon is my favorite game. The spoilers. Cocoon is my favorite game of the year. It is from the people that made Limbo, or from the designer that made Limbo and Inside. The company split after Inside, and one of the designers went to go make this company, Geometric Interactive. It is the best design thing I have played ever, I think. It communicates all its mechanics with you with no dialogue, no text, and you just get it. And it's like a magic trick. And it is one of the most compelling puzzle games I have ever played. It is beautifully, artistically designed. Gosh, I don't even... it blows my mind how this game works. Like, this game needs to be dissected in game design schools to, like, be understood. I cannot say enough good things about this. It is... And for, like, to come from, like, a studio, sure, it comes from experienced people. And, like, I wish it had, like, more marketing around it because more people need to play this game. Go play Cocoon. If you're... Stop listening to me. Go play Cocoon. Moving on, though, from, like, these other games. Dredge, I haven't played. I was very interested in it. It is a Lovecraftian-ish fishing game, which seems very cool in concept. It's, you go to this town that's, like, very intimathy in like, a way, and you're just going out and fishing to try and, like, pay for stuff to upgrade your boat, so it probably has, like, that very good, like, loop to it. And I haven't really heard much else aside from that. I think, like, it did okay, but I, again, haven't played it. Pizza Tower is another game that I wanted to play but didn't. It's very, like, Wario inspired in terms of, like, that very frenetic, like, action game. People that like Pizza Tower really, really like Pizza Tower. They probably talk about it in the same way I talk about Cocoon. So I definitely want to check it out. Venba is a cooking game. I like, there's been a lot of those this year, actually, but I can't really speak to it. Viewfinder sounds really cool, and people have been saying a lot of stuff about it. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, it's in the contention. The concept of it is that you have a snapshot camera that anything you take a picture of gets saved in a Polaroid, and then you can apply that Polaroid anywhere else in the world. So you're solving puzzles by taking pictures of things, like say if there's a bridge that's incomplete, you take a picture of, like, these wooden planks, and then you put it in front of the bridge, and then you complete the bridge and you walk by it that way. Apparently, it's also, like, got a really good, like, emotional story behind it as well that, like, got a lot of people caught off guard, so I'm really interested in playing more of it. I also like the name of their studio.
The Sad Owl Studios.
Sad Owl Studios.
Thunderful Publishing.
Yes.
I just like Thunderful.
I think Thunderful may have also published Spiritfarer, which is a game that, like, brought me to tears several times as well. I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me on that. But I did like that. But yeah. To make it short, I can't say enough things about Cocoon. It needs to be experienced, and I almost don't want to talk more about it because it spoils, like, the magic of it. That's why I've been talking around the puzzle concept of it, because learning it and, like, understanding what that game actually is really part of the appeal of it. So definitely go play it. Next category. Best independent game. And your nominees are, for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system, is Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. Cocoon I've already said enough about. That's my pick.
Cocoon's the pick. I haven't played any of these. I feel like if it's not Cocoon, I do keep on hearing things about Sea of Stars.
Yes. So
I wouldn't be surprised if that one is a contender. I feel like, because it can be hard, it's usually will come down to, like, something that's, it has to be impactful. So whether that impacts, like, how you feel about something, how you viewed something, how good a twist was, how good the intrigue was, or just how gosh darn silly, crazy, what even is this? That's always tends to seem to be, like, the polar sides. Mm-hmm. Again, have not played any of them, but just from the pure word of mouth, I would probably bring it to Cocoon and Sea of Stars.
Mm-hmm. There was an interesting thing here to talk about, which is Dave the Diver, which is a game that I've played a little bit of, but I don't think it's an independent game. I like it, it's... I think Nexon made the studio, if I remember correctly, which is, like, a big publisher. They made the studio and they funded the project completely. That seems like it's a non-independent game. And even the people that made the studio say, like, while Dave the Diver may look like an indie game, we're not an indie game. Like, they were very much upfront with that. And the things I hear about the game is, for people that don't know about the game, it's basically during the day you're fishing, or like diving and doing like spear fishing, and the fish that you take back to the restaurant, and then you make sushi. And
yeah,
then
so it becomes like a cooking game, which I do want to play Dave the Diver. It looks interesting.
It's not exactly a cooking game. It's more of like a serving game.
Yeah.
Because the chef will like make the stuff for you, and then you just have to serve the people. You don't actually do any of the cooking. I think you just decide the menu. Yeah, you decide the menu. I don't find that part of it fun, like the spear fishing or that. I think probably the intrigue and why it got good reviews is the upgrade system of it and the unpredictability of it.
Yeah.
Like, people say there is so much variety and so much story and so many like really great character moments that happen in that game, and a lot of stuff that really catches you off guard. Which makes sense when you have a big budget from a big studio and you can afford to do that. Like, I want to make it clear, Cocoon took 6 years to make, and you can finish that game in 4 to 5 hours. I feel like that's an indie game. You know, and the studio didn't have like, it was published by Annapurna Interactive, but like that the studio's owned independently. And yeah, we talked about Dredge, we talked about Studio Starter, we talked about Viewfinder. I think if people get over the fact that like Dave the Diver may not be an independent game, I think they actually will give it to Dave the Diver. I think just from word of mouth that people have talked about, and the
because it is pretty different. Because that's the thing, is people like different and refreshing. They want new experiences. Yeah. So yeah, based on that, because I have not played it.
Yeah.
So based on that, I also would not be surprised. I don't know if it's not going to get my vote.
No,
but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Cocoon for me is the winner here. Dave the Diver, I felt like stopping. Cocoon, I didn't stop playing until I finished that game. Mm-hmm. There is no doubt in my mind. That's my personal pick. But from word of mouth, from like marketability, look at these men's. Like these men's are easily marketable.
Oh, I feel it looks fantastic.
It does. Cocoon is something so much harder to digest and like express to someone why it's good. It's like, you should play Cocoon. It's like, what is this? There's these orbs. There's this orb inside. Oh, are you a bug? What's going on here? Dave the Diver. Look at this diving man with his thumbs up, and like this angry sushi man, and this like entrepreneur with sunglasses who looks like he's having a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Like, easy sell. Would not be surprised if it won. Next category. Best community support. Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, No Man's Sky. Recognizing a game for outstanding community support, transparency, responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity, and game updates / patches. I can say that, yeah, all these companies have been talking to their communities a lot. Especially, like, Baldur's Gate 3 as an early access game.
Yes.
Like, constantly communicating as they were updating it. Destiny 2 is a weird one because there's a lot of like contentious rife between the community and the publishers, which really makes me sad. Like, don't yell at game developers, people. Don't be mean. Everyone's trying their hardest to make like the game you want, and it sucks when it's not what you want. It's probably not what the developers want either. Circumstances just happened. Be nice to people. Same with Cyberpunk 2077. I know people love that game now. They turned it around, but also, be nice to people. Don't attack developers for like decisions that may or may not have been out of their control.
Yeah.
So on a whole, you know, Final Fantasy 14, big tour de force. You know,
that's a big one.
That's the MMO that keeps on giving. No Man's Sky. I have a personal bone to pick with it because I don't like that game a lot. I keep trying to play it and I just don't like any bit of it. I think I just don't like the survival aspect of it. People keep saying like, oh, but you get all the stuff and it becomes fun. I'm like, yeah, but I'm still doing the same survival stuff. I still gotta get oxygen. I still gotta get, yeah, but you get the stuff and it mitigates it. I'm like, oh, so you're saying I gotta get the stuff that makes me not have to engage with the core systems of the game, and then the game becomes fun. I know you can turn all that stuff off. Maybe I'll go back and try turning that stuff off, see if I like it. But I don't know. For me, I think it's Baldur's Gate 3. For the early access.
Yeah, that's another really good one. I also, again, I live under a rock. I don't participate in like online forums. I don't try to reach out to companies about what they're doing. they're doing their thing and trying their hardest, and I respect that. I have other things to do than go online. Updates and patches. If I ever see an update, I just go, yep, download update. That's kind of my whole interaction. If I encounter a glitch, I'm like, whatever. It's a game made by humans, and so this whole category is kind of meaningless to me personally because I don't engage and I don't care to.
Yeah.
If it's not Baldur's Gate 3, again, just how it's come out, the overall response. Given how old and long-standing 14 is, and again, I have no idea how they respond. I assume they were nominated for a reason.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was 14.
No. Yeah, me neither. I definitely think you're spot on. I think it's between Baldur's Gate 3 and Final Fantasy 14. I think for recency bias, people will pick Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Next category. Best ongoing game. Oh yeah, you saw, right? You saw,
okay,
yes. Awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. Your nominees are Apex Legends, Cyberpunk 2077, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, Genshin Impact.
Yeah, there's some heavy hitters in here.
Yeah, where do we want to start?
Oh gosh. Okay. Which ones do you think are the no?
Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think like fixing the game is like best ongoing. Best ongoing. The game now is playable. It has less bugs. I don't think like that. Even if like the expansion people really like it and they say the story is really good, that's just a good game.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think if you term as like outstanding development, I don't think we should be awarding like, hey, you fixed the game eventually. I don't think that's the one you give the award to.
Yeah.
You should let people have sufficient time to make the game they want to make and then have good production to make that game work.
Exactly.
Like that's how it should be. I think games where you can congratulate on like maintaining that and having interesting ongoing stuff. Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, Genshin Impact.
Yes.
And I think like Genshin Impact. Let's start with that because I don't think it wins, but like it has so much heart.
It does. Yes.
It puts out new stuff so consistently, so many new different events and challenges, and so much story, which sometimes it's stuff that you're really glad that you saw, but when you think, like, this was only available for, like, 2 months. There's a whole, like, side thing that happened in the summer in this whole different land with, like, really great character interactions that, like, move the story forward, like, emotionally for these characters that you can't just play anymore.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
I guess you can make the argument that it is free to play.
Yeah.
So it's not the same as, like, I paid for a game, I would like to see all of the game. And the stuff that you pay for is usually more the cosmetic things. Like, you can just get the stuff for free if you can put in the time and do the energy and the grind and everything.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the argument I would make. Been like, yeah, it sucks you don't get to play that, but it's free.
Yeah. And it should get people to come and play it in that time as well. And, like, I did enjoy playing it. It's also really jank. And that's why I think there's, like, a lot of heart, is they try to cram so many different types of experiences into the game with their, like, I don't think any other game even tries. That it swings for the fences, and, like, not all of it, like, lands, and almost all of it is, like, really finicky, except for stuff that's driven by, like, a menu or, like, a little puzzle thing that you're building. But boy, I like turning into that game and just seeing what is there. I also just really like Genshin Impact and the characters. I own 3 Genshin Impact cosplays. I am biased.
Yes, definitely biased. It's again, I've said before, I love looking at the world. It hasn't captured me. I kind of just come and go. If I never finish it, like, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I would like to experience more, but I do have other things I would prioritize.
It is a time sink.
Yes.
It is a time sink.
Yes, and I do not play Fortnite, so that's your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I don't play Fortnite. I don't know what you're talking about. Fortnite's really cool. I do like how every single, like, season they change the map, they add new, like, vehicles, new, like, weapons, new gameplay modes. The new update they did that just lets you straight up make games with a Fortnite template in Unreal Engine 4 and have it playable, like, on the store. I don't think that's get talked about enough of how, like, really freaking amazing that is. Honestly, as a personal vote, I think it probably goes to Fortnite.
Yeah?
Honestly, like, in terms of, like, technical achievement and, like, maintaining and adding, like, really interesting experiences, also the the big scale like events that they're happening. Like their new one that they're gonna have that's gonna usher in what I think is like the final like chapter of Fortnite. At least I think that's what I've been hearing. All those things that are at that scale are really well like planned and thought out and really fun to play as a player and just be constantly surprised by a game. I think, it's not my favorite game to play. That's the caveat. I like seeing all this stuff. I like being surprised by it. But at the end of the game, it is a battle royale game that has a bunch of like user created content that you could check out, but I don't. So as on a personal level, like that's where I approach it. But I am always impressed by it. Mm-hmm. Same with Final Fantasy 14.
Final Fantasy 14 is going to be the one that gets my vote. I think it's going to be 14. Final Fantasy 14 has literally been ongoing for a long time. The little chapters that happen, it's all these titled stories with these magnificent characters that you get really attached to and play out everything with. And again, you're able to create your character, get your classes, you feel like you're the one that is there, like that kind of level of control. Like that's one of the things that makes Baldur's Gate really intriguing. You get to create and feel like that was your choice. You're not just like going along with stuff. I have no idea what the community is going to be like because, again, I am not a community type of person. I like what I like, and if I meet other people who enjoy that, then yay for me. Mm-hmm. But I don't engage online. I'm not too worried about the opinions of others. But it's just so ongoing, such an amazing franchise, huge community. I can't say either way. I don't think it'll be Cyberpunk or Apex Legends. If it was Fortnite, then like I wouldn't be saddened because I have, just through you and your experiences, I have heard and seen some of the stuff that they do. It is very intriguing. It is very interesting, the stuff that they do put in there. So like, I think it'll be 14. If it is Fortnite, then fine.
Yeah.
Genshin Impact is also extremely popular, and I totally understand that. It does add a ton of stuff. I do agree that it can be a lot of jank, and it is saddened that, like, you better experience it now or you're not at all.
Yeah. I guess in terms of, like, what I think should win is probably Final Fantasy 14 or Fortnite. What I think will win is up to what the composition of the jury is.
Yeah,
which influencers did you get?
Yes,
did you get Fortnite influencers or did you get MMO influencers?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be the tough call. It's going to be because
people are going to vote for their genre.
Because that's the thing that I'm like basically struggling with is like when you look at those three games, like I think it'll be one of those three. Confident about that. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the three of them, they're all a specific category.
Yeah.
And they're all very beloved in very different categories.
Yes.
And so I think that's what will make it tricky.
Yeah.
If there might be a lot of bias for Genshin Impact right now. It does rake in tons of money. It has a gigantic fan base. It is quite large. It's shiny and new.
Yeah. Genshin Impact is the best ongoing single player game.
Yes.
I will say that. That game, you can play by yourself and you can have a really good time. Fortnite, you need friends. Final Fantasy, if you're playing the story by yourself, you can like play it by yourself. But also, like, I put 150 hours in that game. I only just finished Realm Reborn. I have not seen the rest of that game. I know, and I'm sure it's amazing, but like it's...
it's ongoing.
And it's ongoing. All right, let's move on. Like we are also ongoing. Games for Impact.
This has a few.
For a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. We have A Space for the Unbound, Chance of Sennar? Pronunciation? Goodbye Volcano High, Chia, Terra Nil, and Venba. I have played a bit of one of these games.
I have played none of these games.
Yeah, I wish I had played all of these games because like these all look interesting.
Yes.
Goodbye Volcano High I've seen trailers of a lot and I'm very interested in it. Because it looks like there's a lot of existential dread in it, which and anxiety and social stuff, but also saddled with a bunch of high school stuff, which is part that like maybe I don't need that right now. Mm-hmm. Chia, I wanted to like a lot more than I did. it was like very much, it introduced like a game from New Caledonia, which like it's very focused on like that sort of like culture and aesthetic, and I was very intrigued by it. I didn't enjoy pushing buttons in it. And I think that's a problem that I have a lot with like games that like it's not super like immediately like fun to like do the stuff in the game. It pushes me away a little bit. So honestly, I can't really give a good read on this category.
Yeah, having not played any of them, that's definitely a tricky one. If I had to make like games for Impact, I feel like one of the problems with Goodbye Volcano High is what it has going for it is people just love high school stuff.
Yeah.
If you can do a school setting, that tends, because we as humans can all generally relate to a school experience. Most of us have gone to school.
Yes.
So you can generally relate with like bullying, teachers, essays, class stuff, finding yourself, especially high school. There's a reason why it's a whole thing unto itself. Like, you know, we like Harry Potter, the whole school setting, we're all students. It's a whole thing, and it's a way to be able to express a lot of stuff. And the thing is, I don't know how played it got just because of the types of characters that exist. This is not the most popular type, but we are starting to get a lot more games that are less humans and a lot more other. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Volcano High, given the high school setting. It does have kind of a charming look to it. Space for the Unbound overall, I think, has some of the best looking art on here. I don't know anything about it. It does, again, look like that teenage age. Like anything that, like child and teenage, you'll notice that's the theming. Because we can all relate to that kind of phase in our life.
You're right. These are all like games with children, and except for Chance of Senar
and those two. There's only
Terranil.
two that don't seem to be, and I haven't seen Chance of Senar, and for all I know, there could be a child, or you are a teenager, or it's like a cultural struggling kind of thing.
This seems like my kind of game, by the way. Like just
totally
aesthetically, like
yes,
you said, like that's a Louis game.
That is totally you. The one being like cleaning up the world and everything, that is something that is very prominent. I don't think anybody's going to relate to it as hard as I was a child with a family, or I am a child struggling with something, or I was a child going through high school.
Because I assume that's what these games are about, or like you connect to it on an emotional level. Like it resonates with like some sort of like, or with different types of people.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's easiest to do when you can find a situation that most human beings can relate to. We basically all went to school. We were all children. We all struggled with different things. And so I think it'll be any one of those that involves, especially the teenage experience. That's when things get weird. You start becoming more of an individual. You're trying to find who you are. You're trying to fight against things. I think anything, if you're young youth or teenager, I think is going to be the one.
Yep. Yeah, it's tough. I'm because I need to put a prediction. I'm just gonna go the Chia. The concept of it is cool. I just didn't really like playing it. I don't know where the story goes. I assume these are probably gonna be where the story goes. Is gonna affect them.
Yeah.
But we'll go with that then. Moving on to the next category, innovation in accessibility. Recognizing software or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be played and enjoyed by an even wider audience.
This is another category that's mainly going to be you.
It requires research as well to like see, as someone that doesn't have to use a lot of accessibility features.
I also don't have a problem with accessibility, and you and I, when it comes to games, we greatly differ in one key preference aspect. I will always prefer cool characters and cool stories, and I don't really pay, unless the gameplay is so janky and impossible, I don't really notice. Like I've never sat down and played a game and be like, oh my god, like this whole sequence and like how I need to like press the buttons, it's so smooth, it feels so great to do. I don't think about that whatsoever, but I know that you do.
Yeah. I know for some things, like almost a lot of games now, especially like story-based games, they'll have options to switch button pushes to button holds, so you don't have to like do a lot of like motor movement.
Yeah.
I know traditionally, like, Sony has been, like Last of Us Part 2 had, like, 62 accessibility options or something like that. A lot from, like, everything from, like, high contrast, being able to magnify parts of the screen, being able to put, I think they had non-dyslexic text as well. Dyslexia-friendly text, I'm not sure what the correct term is. But, like, without doing research, I'm not sure what I can say these other games do.
I agree. I feel like we would definitely need to do the research to actually look into the accessibility.
I think we just move forward because I don't want to, like, just guess.
Yeah, I don't want to guess either.
Best Performance, awarded to an individual for voice acting, motion, and or performance capture. So we have Ben Starr from Final Fantasy 16. He voices Clive. You have Cameron Monaghan, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Idris Elba, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. Melanie Libourde, Alan Wake 2, she voices Saga.
Oh my god.
Neil Newborn, Baldur's Gate 3. And Yuri Urenthal, Marvel Spider-Man 2.
Alright, if it's not Idris Elba, it's Neil Newborn.
Really?
Yes.
Does he voice Asterion?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
That's why.
I see. Why? You haven't even played Cyber. It's just because it's Idris Elba?
Yes.
And you... Okay. See, here's the thing. A lot of the problem... Oh my god, I just realized. He looks a lot like the guy.
Maybe he's the performance capture option.
Yeah, and he's also the voice. I believe that's the thing. People were saying they were probably going to make... If they made a TV show, they could just cast him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I want to be very clear in terms of how I'm just casting my votes. It's purely just the acting side of it. I don't look into who the capture for any performances is. Those are all things that I'm only here to experience the game. I don't tend to look behind it. I'm very thankful to everybody that makes all of my favorite games. I love you to the ends of the world and back. I don't know any of your names. So I just don't. I don't. Unless I've seen the name a million times, I'm just like, yeah, otherwise...
You know who Hideo Kojima is. He puts his name in front of everything.
You've seen me recognize actors
yes.
in movies and TV shows. I never say them by name. I say them by character.
You recognize voices as well, which is something that I don't do.
Yeah, I recognize voices like a hot damn, but again, I don't unless you're Miyake Kenta... Like, I don't know your name. Like, I need to have, like, seen your name a lot, otherwise it doesn't stick. Otherwise, I just yell out the name of the character, then I know that it was.
Gotcha.
I'm basing it on the fact that Idris Elba, very, very well-known actor, very beloved actor, good actor, wouldn't be surprised. I guess it'll depend on how well Cyberpunk 2077 overall
also how much they used him.
Yes, that's the other thing. How often they could actually use him, that kind of stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised just based on the fact that it's Idris Elba.
Yeah.
And then I haven't played a lot of the other games. I would love to be able to say more. Again, there's going to be a lot of Baldur's Gate, and I'm sorry, specifically Neil Newborn as Astarion. He has set a heck of a bar. Like, people talk about his voice acting and how he brought that character and, like, all the voice that he does.
Really?
Like, oh my god. He did a fantastic job voicing that character, whom I haven't even finished playing the game to see all of everything. I see some of the clips, though. Do you know how many Astarion clips exist that specifically point to, you know, when you pay your voice actors and, like, what you get out of your voice actors? Like, he is cited ridiculously for his voice acting.
Wow. Okay. Because here I was, like, looking at Yuri Lowenthal.
Who did he play?
He was Peter Parker.
Okay, he was Peter Parker.
And here's the thing that I liked about it, is because they put that guy through the ringer, and you saw, he has to do so many different voices.
Yes.
He has, like, sad Peter Parker, he has very angry Peter Parker, but also, like, very possessed by the symbiote Peter Parker.
Yeah, I was gonna, because I needed to know who it was. I assumed it was probably Peter, but I didn't want to, you know, state it. Again, having seen quite a lot of Spider-Man 2 and playing with you, I totally agree. I will say his range is really fantastic. The whole thing with Mary Jane, when she becomes...
no spoilers.
With Mary Jane, he has really excellent range. I really believe the character. He's a fantastic Peter Parker.
Yeah.
He has a really great voice for Peter Parker, very believable. It's one of those where, like, I probably cite those as my top three. I haven't heard Clive. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to play Alan Wake, that's going to be all you. I'm not going to play Star Wars Jedi Survivor, that's all you. I will eventually play 16, of course, but I'd set it on those three. If it's not Neil Newbon, I don't know which of the other two it would be. And again, Idris Elba depends on how often he was actually used.
I think like all these are I haven't heard Idris Elba, but Ben Starr, Cameron Monaghan, and Melanie LeBour. Monaghan.
It's not Monaghan.
Monaghan. I'm sorry.
We're so sorry, Cameron Monaghan.
I'm sorry, Cam.
It's the Benedict Cumberbatch problem.
Yes, it's really. Clive is really good. He has a very fun voice to listen to. I really enjoyed listening to his performance. I wouldn't say it's like incredibly varied. It's a lot of yelling.
Okay.
And he yells really well. He's very angry, and I really did like that.
Which is a good thing to get across, I will say, with like current day voice acting. As someone who specifically watches a lot of anime, I'm not on board with a lot of English voice actors unless they have the money behind them where you can actually afford a good voice actor. If any of us remember the 90s kinds of stuff, like yelling, screaming, anger, sadness, those were always, they were so painful when it's like a dub or like any kind of company that didn't have money to actually hire a good voice actor. So they had to hope that new and coming voice actor they hired would do okay. And she's like, it's like, no. So people that can really go for it, like, I really appreciate.
Or Final Fantasy X and Tita's laughing.
I go, ha 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 ha. It's just like, it's just memes at this point. And that's
Devil May Cry, Dante.
No.
Fill your dark soul with light.
Like, yeah, it was a time.
Yeah.
So
we're well beyond. I watch most modern anime with dubs, honestly, unless they're like really not great.
Yeah, super bad.
There's some that I tried watching in dub, and I like Jujutsu Kaisen. I didn't like watching it in English. I switched it to Japanese.
Yeah, it doesn't always translate. If for me, basically, I find if it's any video game that I'm playing and it's in English, like for example the Final Fantasy series, they now have the Japanese option.
Mm-hmm.
If I kind of just don't like enough of the English voice acting, I just switch it to Japanese.
Yeah.
Because for me, if only one or two voice actors are good, I'd rather just play it in Japanese.
Yeah, I like listening. The thing with games that makes it hard to play them completely in Japanese is that there's a lot of incidental dialogue, and then my OCD brain is like, I want to know exactly what the enemy is saying when I punch them, okay?
Yes, like, I need to know, which is totally fair.
Not that I wouldn't play games in Japanese. Like, we play Like a Dragon in Japanese all the time. Like, it's
we specifically...
That's true, yeah.
Yes, no, so which is going to be interesting moving forward. Specifically for Like a Dragon, we played 7 in English just because, again, with the side questing thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot of side quests. We knew that I was not going to be that interested in all of them. It's so much easier for me to like be on the couch and be like playing a different handheld game, focusing on something else. And when the English comes up, it's easier to know what's happening and be able to look up. For example, when Majima comes on screen, it's so much easier because I don't want to miss anything with Goro Majima. And when we started playing, we started with Yakuza 1?
The one we played after 7?
Yes, after 7.
We played Kiwami.
Okay.
Like Yakuza Kiwami, which is a remake of the first game.
Yeah, which features Kiryu, which for anybody that knows Yakuza, you can't not play the games of Kiryu Kazuma. Like, he's a big deal. But we played that one in Japanese.
Yeah.
So because
it's the only option.
It's the only option. It was a good way to go about it. It's fine. It does make it harder to like not be able to pay attention. So I usually have to like tell Luis, be like, hey, when plot happens, like you need to jab me. But it also means that if there is side quest stuff that I do find intriguing, I'm not going to know because I don't understand.
It's hard to know like the bar too. Like when I'm reading stuff in Japanese, I'm like, would Harley be interested in this?
I don't know. Yes.
It's like, Harley, look, this. We have to find out which person is the one that's actually peeing.
And just like,
and the one that's just reading a book. Are you interested? It's like, nope.
Nope, not you figure that out.
All right, I'll solve this one on my own.
I did really like a Dragon 7 with Ichiban Kasuga. His voice actor in particular, I was very impressed.
Oh, he was so good.
He was so good. Fantastic job. Love that guy. And overall, I did enjoy a lot of the voice acting.
I wish they would let me listen to Kasuga in English and Kiryu in
Japanese.
Japanese.
Right, can we just... That's like,
what is the option?
That's going to be the far future, where it's just like, I want this character in English, that character in Japanese, this one in German, like...
There's some, like, you can go back and get PS2 games. There's people have patched them so that you can have them with the English subtitles that are on the American release, but they pass the Japanese voices in. They're called undubs.
Yes,
I need
undubs.
I need someone to patch
just Kiryu.
like a dragon and just patch Kiryu. I need the Kiryu Japanese patch.
Yes.
And it can be like, so fun thing about Tekken, you watch the story mode on the game. Everyone speaks to each other in their native language, and they all understand each other.
Of course they do.
So, like, Heihachi doesn't care who you are. He is speaking to you in Japanese.
Yes.
And you better understand him.
Alrighty, but to get back on track...
Yes,
yeah.
I want to spend some time to say, Saga Anderson in Alan Wake 2, what is a tour de force in, like, voice acting. I really enjoyed that portrayal. I really enjoyed the journey that they took her on. Like, really bad things happen to her, but she still manages to, like, when an opportunity to become, like, sassy or tell a joke comes up, she doesn't miss it.
And
but,
it comes across well.
And it comes across well, actually. Like she's a really great character for that. They should put a Max Payne's voice actor here too. I just love listening to his voice, but just because I've been listening to it for a very long time.
Yeah, and I do recognize that she is the only female.
Mm-hmm.
Which, of course, I love to see. There's some amazing voice actors, voice actresses. They all deserve it.
Mary Jane on here.
Right? It's just like, my main thing that I will say as a female, I haven't played Alan Wake 2. I do not believe in just voting for somebody based on things like race or gender. I very much believe votes should be for the category, for what it's for. This is for performance, either voice acting or motion capture, that kind of stuff. I believe that's what it should be for. I have not played Alan Wake 2. I totally, believe you. You've played it. If you say she did a fantastic job. I love to hear it. I'm glad it was amazing. It's always a bummer, especially since not a lot of female characters get a lot of attention, and knowing that there was a good nominee for it is fantastic. I just don't believe... I'm not going to say I'm picking her because she's the girl. I feel like that's also just such an injustice to her.
Yeah. No, I think she carries a lot of that game. Like, I think part of, like... Because she's also, like, the entry point for a lot of people to... Because it's been, like, a decade, 13 years since Alan Wake. So she's, like, the character that brings in and, like, assessing, like, what has happened and what makes the Alan Wake universe the Alan Wake universe. So you spend a lot of time with her, and I think, like, it's such a wacky universe, and the way that she plays it, just like, okay, I don't believe any of this stuff, but, like, I am here to do a job, and I'm gonna come around to this if it makes sense. And, like, that journey of discovery that she goes on is really well written, and more importantly, it's really well acted and very believable.
Awesome. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going with Neil.
Gotcha. I don't know who I would... I'm turned between Melanie, you and Neil.
Okay.
I think Neil will win. My personal vote... I think I might go to Melanie. Because I think, like, that really did make a lot... but Ben Starr yells really well.
Yeah,
it's hard.
But what else? Was the other acting okay? Just like, if this was who wins best yelling voice actor...
Yes.
So, like...
I don't think I can pick my personal favorite, but I do think Neil will win. It's between these two for me, in terms of personal pick. Let's go to the next category. Best audio design. Recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. Our nominees are Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4.
Hi-Fi Hi-Fi Rush is a rhythm game, isn't it?
It's the game that has the most audio design.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I kind of hope it's Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that definitely happening. Dead Space, I'm a little confused being on here because I had issues with a lot of like their implementation of surround sound. There's a lot of times where stuff snuck up on behind me and they either didn't make a sound or was mixed very low. So I came away like a little bit unimpressed with it, coming from like as a really big Dead Space fan.
Yes.
Alan Wake 2, on the other hand, phenomenal surround sound. There's like moments that when you're playing the Alan Wake moment, there are all these shadow figures that are your main opponents to it, and they always like whisper like, "Wake, Alan Wake, wake," and it's just like you're in a nightmare and someone's like constantly saying your name, and like when it comes in like the next room, you're like, "Ah!" Beside your ear, you like whip around and you turn around like, "Oh fuck, there's an enemy there." It's really well done. Very impressive, and just the auroscape as well of like the dark place, which is their like alternate dimension stuff. I think really good sounds. Marvel Spider-Man 2. Fun fact: every single line of dialogue in that game, messaged by Peter or Miles, is recorded both with effort in case you're swinging and normal in case you're not swinging. So. Fun little thing about that. I think overall, like, it sounds like really good. There's nothing like Alan Wake 2 that like stood out to me specifically for that. Resident Evil 4 is juicy, squishy, and gross in all the most amazing ways. Yes. But it's pretty par for the course for a Resident Evil game. I think it's between Alan Wake 2 and Hi-Fi Rush for me.
Yeah, I again, not having played Hi-Fi Rush, and I know people might just argue that it's a mechanic of the game because it's a rhythm game, so you should have good rhythm in it. So for those that would make that argument, like, I hear you, I see you, but it does kind of feel like because it is that kind of game, it should have like that amazing sound quality. I guess it'll depend. I think it's going to come down to something like Hi-Fi Rush, where that's kind of the point, and like any one of these games where it's just like, because when I think about that audio and sound design, it's also part of that like immersiveness and how that can make you feel. In which case, like, yeah, Resident Evil 4, like that squishy, yicky, like things that can make you go like, ugh. Yeah. I think is excellent quality. There was nothing that stood out in Dead Space to me when I was watching.
We played the entirety of Dead Space together.
Yes. So yeah, not much. But again, I am just hyper focused on characters and story. Yeah. When I think of like some of my favorite music and like sounds in games that I've actually really connected to, like heckin' Zelda, man, especially like on the N64. Yeah. Like, specifically like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, like, certain areas, like, oh my god, in Majora's Mask, the first temple that you go to, like the sounds that they have in the temple, like, it's all so good, and that's usually what I can really pay attention to. My brain understands that there is sounds around me, but I almost never have a moment of just like, oh, Resident Evil 4, ooh, this thing was like gross and squishy. Wow, those sounds were so cool, amazing. That's going to be imprinted on me for my life. Like, that doesn't happen to me.
Speaking about things imprinted in your life, Resident Evil 4 has this enemy called the Regenerator, and in the original game, he had this very raspy breathing noise, and he was the scariest enemy in that game. I heard that for the rest of my life. Yeah. Like, I still hear it like constantly. The sound the chainsaw makes when he gets near you and the guy like screams as he is about to like do the instant kill. I just remembered that. Again, that also just comes from the original game. Yeah. I feel Resident Evil 4 is like, it's mixed way better. Whereas like Resident Evil 4, the original one, those sounds just popped a lot more in the soundscape because there was less going on. Yeah. It became more memorable. I felt that about Alan Wake 2. It has a feel like very specific sounds that happen that I recognize. Yeah. What's not on here though? Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah. There were the music in that game and how like it moves depending on like where you're going from or like whether you're in combat and the merging in and out of that, the design of that I thought was really good. A lot of it comes from Breath of the Wild. There is still some new stuff when you go into the underground, and when you go to the underground and you're just parachuting down, and then you just see that darkness fill out under you. The music. Spoilers. We've seen this before. The music just goes, and the soundscape changes completely to like you're in a dangerous place now. I think that's very impressive. But yeah, what I think will win. I think Alan Wake 2 will win it.
Okay.
I think it will. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm not that sure because Resident Evil 4 might. I think again recency bias. Resident Evil 4 came out in February.
Yes.
I'm having trouble remembering like specific sounds from that game. Alan Wake 2 came out last month. I remember it more vividly. And I think if I'm comparing Alan Wake 2 to Marvel Spider-Man 2, I think I'd give it to Alan Wake 2.
Yes.
And I think when I think about the jury, influencers, critics, and like that, Alan Wake 2 got a bunch of 10 out of 10s. I think it takes it. Unless people say, like, recency bias my word, like, oh, I don't remember Hi-Fi Rush that well. Of course it must have the best audio design. That's the whole game. Maybe they'll give it to that.
Right, just like, they might not, but it's one of those things where I'm just like, that's the game, though.
Yeah.
But I do see people being like, well, yeah, but that's a mechanic in the game.
Yeah.
And these games, it was a lot more atmospheric and how it makes you feel and how that can impact you.
The licensed music they use is also, like, very correct. Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes when you have licensed music, it feels like it doesn't fit. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that. The music it chose for that game fits completely. All right, let's move on.
Yes. Speaking of...
So, yes, I see that Tears of the Kingdom is here now. Okay, let's go. Best score and music. For outstanding music, inclusive of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, Tears of the Kingdom. I'm glad that we were talking about audio design before, because we were talking about audio design before, and I think this is something different.
Yes,
and
I agree.
And I understand now, like, why they put Zelda here, because I do think the music is phenomenal, and the way it shifts is very technically impressive and very competent in ways that, like, sometimes you play games that, like, switch between their combat and their static music, and it's, like jarring.
Yeah.
Zelda doesn't feel like that. Alan Wake 2, the most famous sequence in this, there's a number of sequences that are very musically driven by the music that's composed for, like, this game. And it drives, like, what you're actually doing in the game. And it has been blowing up on YouTube forever. And that's why this is going to win. I don't know if I agree with it.
Yeah.
I do like the songs they chose. I do like playing those parts of the game. But I think right off the bat, that's going to be the one that wins. Baldur's Gate 3, I don't think we've heard enough of it.
I agree.
It did blow me away when we first started that game, and, like, that title song.
Yeah.
Also, on its detriment, that song in the character creation screen, down, down by the river, I think I got tired of that.
When you're just in the screen for too long, you're like, oh my god!
We had to make our characters twice.
Yes.
And we were there for a while. Final Fantasy 16, though, oh god, the music is still fantastic.
Of course, it's Square Enix.
It's so good. It's so, like they just have the most amazing composers just on hand. Masayoshi Soken?
Yes.
I think that's pronouncing it. Yeah, terrific job. I think it honestly, it might be close to my personal pick. I think it would be Final Fantasy 16. But in use of licensed music, Hi-Fi Rush would... as the one that's using licensed music here.
Yes.
I think it went. It's so poppy, it's so catchy, it's so well utilized as part of the game. I think it definitely deserves the victory. And then Zelda, composed by Nintendo Sound Team.
Of course.
Legendary.
Yes, legendary.
I don't think you can go wrong with that. I think it's a very highly contentious category. I don't know which of my babies I would pick, but I know that the jury's going to pick Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, especially, with the popularity of the scene and everything. It's one of those things where it's like, I have no idea. Because, again, it's going to come down to certain things. And, again, music is very personal.
Yeah.
The stuff that you enjoy. What I can say is there are at least orchestrated performances regularly for Final Fantasy, and there was somewhat regularly for Zelda.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So no matter which ones actually win this category, I think those two for sure are going to have the most staying power in terms of where else you're going to see them.
Yes.
Like, we're going to go to an orchestra performance for Final Fantasy or for Zelda, and we're going to hear songs from these.
I would love them to make an escape room that's all Alan Wake 2 music, because I feel that would be very applicable. I'll show you the scenes later.
Yeah.
But like you'll get it. There's also, like, a whole combat sequence at the end of the game that is set to the backdrop of a metal concert. Sorry, that's kind of spoilers, but yeah, it's probably gonna win. I vote for that. Next one. Best art direction for outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation.
Ooh.
Have Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
It's another category that I'm deeply biased in because I love when my eyeballs just feel happy.
Yeah.
Like, Wonder is a delight to look at.
Oh, yes.
I really love looking at Zelda.
Yes.
I love being able to come across the things. I love looking at the creatures that they have. It's like my vote 100% goes to Zelda. I want to look at that stuff. I love the way the things look. I'm like, I love it.
Yeah. I think of these nominees, like, this is the one that's most like, you should give the award to all of these. All these set the things out to what they want to achieve, and they do it so competently. And it's hard to pick one. Of the things that Alan Wake 2, I think the art direction is tremendous. Like, as going out and giving that like true detective style look, and then mixing that with the Alan Wake Dark Place, which I think is like very imaginatively done, along with all the visual effects, the blending between FMV into like gameplay, and integrating that with like the audio, like in the previous category. I think it's the direction they went with was both it was risky, experimental, and I think it achieved what it was going for. I think that's where I would give my vote for it. Because a lot of these other games, like, they go for like pretty set things. Like Hi-Fi Rush is going for like cartoony, over the top thing, and it succeeds really well on that. And they mix that with the music and the art, which I think is a phenomenal achievement. That almost might be my second pick. Lies of P is going for like steampunk, gothic horror, and achieves that really well, but it is a set aesthetic. Super Mario Brothers looks like Super Mario. It's amazing.
Yeah. If you like looking at Mario,
you're looking at Mario.
Yeah, it's very, very bright, extremely pleasant, very delightful. If looking at Mario makes you feel negatively in any kind of way, you need help. Seek therapy.
Yes. And Tears of the Kingdom is riffing a lot on what Breath of the Wild already has, and it does do some new and interesting things, but it's mostly riffing on Breath of the Wild stuff, with like new sort of environments and characters, which have been insanely popular. But it is mostly that. Of the ones that I think have been just constantly surprising me, Alan Wake 2. You never really know what you were going to get with that game, or what it was going to show you, and how it was going to mix a lot of media together. And I think it achieves that very well. And I think no other studio even attempts that, aside from like Remedy. Mm-hmm. At least the scale and like budget that Remedy does. There's a lot of indie games that do that, that should get attention, but to the scale and like competency, and like in terms of like what I like about Alan Wake 2, it is that. So I think that's the one that I think should win. That's the one that I think will probably win. Again, recency bias as well.
Yes. Which I don't have.
Best narrative for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. We have a lot of babies here.
Yeah, so we're going through some recents.
Yeah. So we have Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, Marvel Spider-Man 2.
So how many awards do you think Baldur's Gate 3 is going to win? I think it's going to be more than one.
Is this category for most narrative? In which case...
No, it's best narrative, yeah. But again, it's one of the key things that Baldur's Gate 3 has going for it is a lot of that personalization.
Yes,
it's like, even when I talk to people about like board games, a lot of them want to know about like replayability and experience. And it's just like, and some of the best ones, and even some of my favorite, like in terms of board games, is like, I like feeling like an individual in the game. I don't like games as just, I am the same as everybody else and we're all doing the exact same thing.
Okay.
And Baldur's Gate 3, just the pure fact that, again, the character creation, and it's not as simple as you're gonna be just an average Joe on the board and you get to decide what you look like, but otherwise basically everything you do is gonna play out exactly the same way as everybody who plays this game. You don't have an individual experience. Whereas with Baldur's Gate 3, it's like, yeah, you have your character creation, so out of the gates you have that individual experience of like, what you're going to look like, who you're going to be. To a certain, don't get me wrong, of course there are restrictions. It is a video game. It's not Magic. But from the get-go, you get that. The decisions that you make are important. They make a difference. There is cause and effect. The characters that you even have around you, when, how often, what you talk about, when you're utilizing them, the ones that you encounter before other ones, like, it's just this insane level and just the insane replayability, the belovedness of the characters you get to interact with, and even within that replayability, they can all still be very different, because again, oh, I talked to him here last time, but I'm gonna wait, and I did it a little later this time, and now it's all completely different, like, narrative-wise, and again, we haven't completed the story. I haven't heard anything like, oh, it's great in the beginning, but the story flops off. I haven't heard anything like that. But I just, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's weird because
it has all of those things going.
It almost has for me like the potential bias, because like I have played Alan Wake 2, I've played Final Fantasy 16, I've played Marvel Spider-Man 2, I've completed those games. They exist as a whole in my head. Sorry, it's like a complete piece in my head.
Yeah, completely.
Baldur's Gate 3, I'm like, I enjoyed everything I've played so far, and it could be so much more. And like the stuff that I've seen is very, very good.
And even once you complete what we're currently doing, you go back again, again, and now it's going to be something even more.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it is like a very cool achievement that they did that. So,
and I do really hope to see more of that in other games.
Yeah. Do you have 8 years development time?
I will still be alive in 8 years, probably, so I'll wait.
Gotcha. All right, so talk about Alan Wake 2 for a bit. I like a lot of the story and like the universe of Alan Wake 2 and the Remedy extended multiverse, not multiverse, but like extended universe, the MCU of video games, you could say. I did not like all the beats in that game. I think the journey they took was almost a little bit predictable, which is weird for a game that's like meant to be like weird and strange and eerie. Like it went to places that I thought it would go, and it didn't go much further beyond that. And I don't know if that's just a me thing. I loved everything it had to show me. I don't know if the narrative was the strongest part about that game. It's more about the experience than like the actual story they were telling that I enjoyed. Same with Final Fantasy 16, to be honest. Like, it showed me a lot of really cool things, but the overall journey, it kind of got left feeling like, the themes kind of left me feeling like just a bit like cold and empty. Like, it's a very weirdly angry game, and a little nihilistic, a little pessimistic. And there are moments, like, it swells, you know, in the big set pieces and stuff like that. And those are really cool to, like, play and see. But when you think about the overarching narrative, you kind of go, like, it's kind of just this. And I'm like, that's okay, but there's a lot of, like, different stories being told in Baldur's Gate 3. And the side quests that we play in Baldur's Gate 3, they're really cool. The side quests in Final Fantasy 16, they flesh out the world, but not much else. I'm not really intrigued. I don't think I could name like more than 3 secondary characters to you from Final Fantasy 16, and that's a problem. Marvel Spider-Man 2, I think, is the other good contender. I think that's a very tight story.
Yes,
it's a very tight story. It is very well told. It is very well paced. Some people say like it sags in the middle, but I'm like, you need to let that relationship between those characters breathe, and I think it does that while still having like a main threat in the background. And people say like, oh, you know, the Kraven stuff isn't really that interesting. I'm like, the Kraven stuff exists so you can let these other characters have time to interact while you're not bored out of your mind just playing a walking simulator. And I think it does a very good job of like still making that stuff interesting, still having like really cool set beats and having really good emotional payoff moments for all these characters. I think Miles gets left a little bit out in the cold. That's my main criticism in the story. But otherwise, yeah, I still think Baldur's Gate 3 takes it. That might be my personal pick out of these as well. Like, honestly, having not played Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, people like that story more than the original story, which is amazing because people really did like that story.
Yeah.
Even though they said it sags in the middle. People keep saying stories sag in the middle.
Yeah, the middle.
The middle's the part where you're playing the game.
Exactly. It's just like, we have to give you some stuff to do, man.
Alright. Moving on then. Best Game Direction. Awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. Familiar candidates.
Wow.
Wait, hold on. Hold on. Okay, no,
yeah,
it's not. It's not. It's a little mix, but like, yeah, it's a little familiar. Best game direction.
All right. At least you have played all of these.
Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Okay.
Oops, all Baldur's Gate.
My personal pick is Cocoon. It's not on here, but like that's what that game is. That game is pure game direction, and it beats out all of these. In 4 hours, it has better game direction than any of these. So that is my personal pick. All right. It should be on this list. It's not. It's a crime that it isn't.
Yeah. Cocoon for the win.
Cocoon for the win. What will actually win? Alan Wake 2 is tough because they used to have a category like best directed game. And I think Alan Wake 2 wins that. It is the best directed game. In terms of like putting experience together and do that and making interesting things happen. I think that is true. Game direction. No. That game it has problems with its pacing. I mentioned before, I don't like exploring the open world. I don't think like combat makes it doesn't. The interesting part about the game is seeing new stuff and seeing weird, interesting things happen. And it does have that while you're exploring the world, but it's mixed with this combat that is just not satisfying to me. Baldur's Gate 3 has the most direction, has the most narrative and all that. I think that's a very strong potential winner.
It's strong in any of the categories that it's really come up in, which makes it like, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be like biased, like, oh, it better all be Baldur's Gate 3, but it just did so many fantastic things. I'm not saying it's gonna win all the categories that it is actually in. I do believe it's gonna win more than one category. Yes. At least.
If I had to say a bad thing about Baldur's Gate, I don't like the way the buttons feel, and I don't like the inventory. And we're playing it on a console. And I know that's a limitation specific to the console. That's probably not in the PC version, but that is kind of where my personal bias falls from. Marvel Spider-Man 2, on the other hand, there is no part of playing that game that you're not enjoying it. Like, it is like well executed in the pace of its story. It gives you compelling side things to complete. Pushing buttons in that game is a dream. Like, if people need to know what I understand, like what I see, like the buttons feel good in this game, the buttons feel bad in this game, go play Marvel Spider-Man 2, and then play anything else. It's night and day. And Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I can take it or leave it.
I don't think it's gonna win.
It's not gonna win.
I think that's the one that I would like knock off out of all of them.
I want to stop playing Super Mario Brothers Wonders. You know, like there's come time and say that is enough Super Mario Brothers Wonders for this day.
Yeah, you don't get lost in that.
I don't. Like Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2. I kept wanting to play. You had to drag me away from those games. Even Alan Wake 2, which is like has its problems, I feel. Tears of the Kingdom, again, I kept dropping it, but I think it's a way better... the game is beautifully designed. Like, make no mistake. And I think the mechanics that they do...
Yeah, it is a Zelda game.
It is beyond a Zelda game,
I would even say. Going to be fantastic creative vision, fantastic design. We know that. It's a Zelda game.
I wish I could understand why I keep putting these games down. I don't know why it keeps dropping it for me. But, like, I think in terms of, like, what would win this category, it might be... Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3. I don't think Marvel Spider-Man 2 wins it because people are kind of mean to that game and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Like people say like it's the 10 out of 10 game that people keep giving 9 out of 10 games because I don't know what else they wanted to. They say like, oh, the combat is too similar to the first game, or you know, like I didn't like the story with Kraven. And I'm like, dude, this game is so polished and so beautiful and so fun to play. I don't know what more you want from it. So I think honestly, it's probably going to go to Baldur's Gate 3. Like, when you think of, like, it's a juried thing, it's either going to go to Baldur's Gate 3 or Tears of the Kingdom, or, like, if some people are, like, really insane, they're going to give it to Alan Wake 2, and I applaud them for it.
Yes.
But my pick would be Cocoon.
Yes. We vote for Cocoon.
Yeah.
All right. That brings us to the final category. The final one,
which is the game of the year, which is the exact same as game direction. So what are we doing here, actually?
Yeah, game direction plus Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, you're right. Recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. The categories are Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. My personal pick is Cocoon.
Of course.
Yeah, it's Cocoon.
Yeah, it's Cocoon.
It's got beautiful sound. It's got beautiful art direction. It may have a story. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need one. Like, stuff happens.
Yes.
Yes, but it's not told to you, and I think that's fine. And I think, like, the progression of that game might as well be its story and the world it takes you to, and I think that's excellent. And, of course, as I said before, the design of that game is, like, you need to write an essay on it. It's immaculate. So, yeah. But
yeah, it's going to come down to which one you think is the most well-rounded, that covers the best bases.
If I had to pick from this list, it would be a fight between Spider-Man 2 and Resident Evil 4.
Really?
Yes.
Not Baldur's Gate 3.
See, I have finished Resident Evil 4 and Spider-Man 2, so I can assess it as a whole.
Yes.
Like, I don't know where Baldur's Gate 3 ends up, and there are sticking points for me, and like there is some friction.
Of course.
And that's to be understood because it's part of the scale. And to be fair, the game is so compelling, I can get over the friction. But, like, if it was... It's the most game. It is the most game that has ever gamed, and so there's gonna be parts where it's like, it's not really amazing. And that's probably okay. But when I think about Spider-Man 2 and Resident Evil 4, 2 games that I finished in 25 hours, there was no part that I wasn't having fun with it.
Yes.
There are parts in Baldur's Gate 3 where I'm not having fun. That's where my sticking point is. It's like, it almost suffers for me in terms of, like, you know, the struggle part of it. Sorry, not the struggle part of it, the grandiosity of it. Yeah. Where, like, it's a 200-hour game, and maybe 20 of those hours are not going to be fun. And, like, when you take it as a whole for, like, what it does and what it sets out to do, what it tries to achieve, the scope of its ambition, does that make it a game of the year because of that scope and, like, what it manages to hit and what it can hit? Maybe. It might. I think potentially. But I also just really love these 2 games. And Cocoon.
And Cocoon.
And Cocoon.
Cocoon's the real winner here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say which one is going to get Game of the Year. I feel like it could come down to, like, Baldur's Gate 3 might win it. Or it just might be that game that everybody assumed would win it.
Yeah.
And then argues why it should have won it.
Yeah.
Again, for me, it's another one of those ones where when you look at what it does, how popular it is, how much people are really enjoying it, all the things it has going for it, I would not be surprised if it gets the Game of the Year. I also wouldn't really be surprised if it went to something else. I don't think it's going to go to Mario Brothers.
No, it's not.
When you compare the experience of Mario Brothers Wonder to all of these other games, it wouldn't be my pick. When you compare that experience, even with Zelda, like, I love Zelda. I would have a hard time if somebody was just like, you can only play Baldur's Gate 3 or you can only play Tears of the Kingdom. I would struggle between those two.
Really? That's a great vote for Baldur's Gate 3 then.
I would struggle because I love Zelda. It's a huge franchise that's always been really beloved, but everything I've seen in Baldur's Gate 3, it'd be really hard. Like, it would be crushing. I want to know what's going on in Baldur's Gate 3. I'm extremely intrigued. I have a pretty good idea what I'm going to get in Tears of the Kingdom. Mm-hmm. And I still want to experience it. I still want to see it, and I still want to do all that stuff. But having played Breath of the Wild, kind of knowing, like, that whole world and the stuff that does exist within it, I do already kind of know what I'm going to get in Tears of the Kingdom. I have no idea what I'm going to get in Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have been surprised by stuff in Tears of the Kingdom, but I've also been fighting a lot of similar looking enemies and doing similar sort of things that I did in Breath of the Wild.
Which totally makes sense because it does take place there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody that's complaining like, oh my god, I've seen this enemy before, I'm like, really? You did?
And I don't, and I'm not knocking that as a downside. I'm just thinking about, like, when you things that are going to blow people away are, like, new experiences, and that's part that I struggle with, like, Resident Evil 4 as well, like, winning in this category is because it is a remake, and I think it's a really well done remake. But, like, Alan Wake 2, like, there's stuff that's not fun in it, but it swings for the fences in ways that games just don't.
Yeah.
That just don't. And it's more successful than it's not. Similar to Baldur's Gate 3, like, games don't try this type of scale or ambition. Yeah, I think Baldur's Gate 3 wins it.
It might take it.
I think it takes it.
My only other concern for Baldur's Gate 3 is that it has come up in so many categories. At a certain point, when you see that level of popularity, you kind of want to see it lose sometimes. And that's my only word, because it shouldn't. That is so unfair. That is no reason to vote on anything or downvote anything, being like, oh, Baldur's Gate 3 has been in so many categories. It needs to lose some categories. Does it? No. If it's going to lose those categories, it should be because something else was genuinely better.
Yeah.
So I do have the mild concern that we have seen it so often that it might just lose Game of the Year because too popular.
You want to see it win Game of the Year, though.
I like, again,
yeah.
I think it does fantastic things.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised when you compare it to other things. I was just like, I see it beating out other things. I'm not really sure who the best contender is against it in terms of what it does do.
Yeah.
And the overall enjoyment that most people do seem to be having. But yeah, my only concern is like for the people out there that start hating on something because it's done such a good job, again, y'all need to go to therapy. Like, there's something wrong with you. It's doing something awesome. They created something amazing. Hating on it because it ended up being amazing is just so bat crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost kind of wonder if there's also sort of like the sequel problem with like Marvel Spider-Man 2 there, because it is kind of similar to the old game, and people are like just saying like, it's more of the same. It's still like such a competent, excelling game that like, oh god, I know it's not going to win, and I think it should even be contended, but I know people are going to look at it and just like the jury, I mean, is going to look at it and be like, no, we don't even need to consider no, we don't even need to consider Resident Evil 4. It's a remake. But I'm like, every game is a journey. Every game that you make is a crucible. And like, to be able to pull something off to the scale of like any of these games, I think like it deserves to be considered.
Yeah, and I do think that it should be like a good conversation with like well thought out reasoning. That's my main thing.
Yeah.
Anybody who has this idea of just like, Spider-Man 2 is kind of similar, moving on, it's just like, no, look at it for what it is and what it did.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a sequel to something. I want to look at the content on its own. And none of this like, oh, well, but the previous game, don't care. We're not talking about the previous game. I want the thoughts and opinions about this game.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost think maybe the dark horse is Alan Wake 2. People just go because it's so wild.
It might,
and because recency too.
Exactly.
That's it. Baldur's Gate 3 has been. I don't know if people feel fatigue about hearing of Baldur's Gate 3 all the time.
Yeah, it might have the fatigue bias.
Yeah, but Alan Wake 2 is like, it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So, but I think I'm going to lock in my prediction. Baldur's Gate 3, Game of the Year, and personal pick, Cocoon.
Yes, personal pick, Cocoon. I also have a pretty big feeling about Baldur's Gate 3. They did an amazing job. Like, big thanks to Larian Studios. For something like this in particular, this style of game is the kind of thing that, like, it does have its beloved fan bases, but you don't tend to see it really catapulted to where it is.
Do you know they're still patching more content into Act 3 as early as, like, last month? Like, it feels like the game's not done yet either. It's like an ongoing concern.
Right? It's the campaign that never ends.
Yeah. All right, so that locks it in. I guess there's other predictions for the Game Awards. What are they going to announce? I have a feeling if they're going to announce Grand Theft Auto 6, they're going to do that there.
Yes.
Someone's going to rush the stage again.
Yes.
Again. What that reaction is going to be, I hope security stops them this time. I hope that happens. But I know definitely someone's going to attempt to rush that. Maybe, here's the interesting thing. Capcom has said that they have an unannounced title that's still going to come out in the first quarter of the game. This is fourth quarter of the year, which can be up until like March, I think. They haven't announced anything yet. If they're ever going to do it, it's probably going to be here. Is it Monster Hunter? Maybe. It's been a while since Monster Hunter Stories 2. You like turn-based games. Maybe they'll announce Monster Hunter Stories 3.
Maybe.
Another turn-based game for you. for us to talk about and not play.
It's too many games.
Maybe they'll give a look at the Mortal Kombat 1 character. They've always not show Mortal Kombat stuff there, but maybe they'll show a bit of the new character. If not, maybe the new Street Fighter 6 character. There's going to be a presence there at some point. But I don't know. What would you like to see them announce? Like any big title?
Oh, a big title.
Yeah, because that's what the Game Awards does, you know? That's where they announce Armored Core 6. They'll probably announce to show more of the Elden Ring DLC, I imagine, that people are excited for. Is there anything that you would like to see from like a big publisher? Like a Nintendo or Square Enix? Like,
I always know that, like, when you're super dedicated to franchises, until they actually end it, you always know you're going to get more at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the same level of excitement as when you're just like, I was really excited when they even announced Rune Factory 4.
Yeah.
Rune Factory 5, sorry. Factory 5, because they said that Rune Factory 4 was, that was it. They were done. They're not going to make Rune Factories anymore. Is Rune Factory an amazing game? No.
Is it going to be at the Game Awards? Probably not.
No, not even a little bit. Was I extremely excited when they're like, we're bringing 5? Because I like those games, and I like them for specific reasons. And so, like, that kind of, like, I feel like, I don't know what it's going to be, but I want an announcement that gives me that feeling of like, no way.
Yeah.
Like, I need that. I need that right now. Stuff it in my face.
It's kind of be hard to, I feel like that if they announce, like, if Capcom just said, we're making a Dino Crisis game, I'd probably, like, pop for that. Like,
right?
that's what I did for Armored Core 6. Of like, this thing has been dead for so long, and then they showed Armored Core 6 at the Game Awards. So that could possibly happen. It's just some franchise that we haven't thought of yet. It's probably Dino Crisis. Or Parasite Eve. That's the new Square Enix title they announced. Is the new Parasite Eve.
I want that Phoenix rising from the ashes announcement. Yeah. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And more
what Dead franchise would you see?
Oh, man.
What is something that you like super like that you would love to see rise? Oh, they're probably going to show Silent Hill 2. Like, they've announced the release date of that game, the remake. I bet that, speaking of Phoenix Rising for the Ashes, they'll probably do that. Although, it's more like the Phoenix has already died, and Konami keeps poking it with, like, a stick to try to get it to do something with how they're treating that franchise.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I honestly, I have no idea what game could rise from the grave that I would be super looking forward to. I'm also extremely tired. It is late.
It is late. Alright. Yeah. New Dino Crisis. Probably show a trailer for the new Wolverine game from the same studio that made Insomniac. I would like to see that.
Yes.
But yeah. Anyway, that has been our very lengthy predictions for the Game Awards.
For 2023.
And we'll see how well that has turned out for us.
Yes.
And we'll catch you all at the show and here Beyond the Pixel.